What's going on out there, guys? Excited to announce that we're episode 3. We're gonna be doing Scream 1996. It's kind of ironic because me and Brittany both had Scream on our top 10 list, so one of us had to swap it out. So I'm
Yep.
pretty sure this is gonna be a long one, so buckle up. And
Brace yourselves.
Brittany's gonna take us away with the recap once we kick off, I guess.
Great.
Yeah. If you want to take it away, I guess, Brittany.
All right, let's do this. So, obviously, like you said, it opened up in 1996. And before Scream, there's been so many good horror movies, like so many, originals, Halloween, Texas Chainsaw. But still in 1996, I'm pretty sure Scream packed a punch.
Oh, definitely. Masterpiece.
It changed the game up.
Oh, masterpiece.
100%. It wasn't just the babysitters. It wasn't just, the grotesque attacks of people with chainsaws and all that fun stuff. It's something else. It's hard to explain. And even writing this recap, it took me about 5 different times of cracking at it because I didn't know what to leave out. It was tough. So it was directed by Wes Craven, the legend. So, I mean, before this, he created Freddy. Rest in peace. We'll get into that later on.
Yeah.
But because he did so much for Scream, they actually pay homage to him when he does pass away in Scream 5, I believe it is. So we'll discuss that in that episode. But Scream was something that I think he held very closely, and I feel like they created a little bit of a family with Scream from what I've read throughout the research of this one, and from what I noticed from being a Screen stan growing up. So on the writing credits, there's Kevin Williamson, who also gave us I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Oh, beautiful. I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I don't expect you to know this one, but it was Vampire Diaries 2 was one of Kevin Williamson's projects.
You know what? I haven't seen Vampire Diaries, but it's kind of funny because Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer are similar as well as
very much so.
I almost wonder if what's his name? Kevin Williamson?
Kevin Williamson, yes. So aside from I Know What You Did Last Summer, he was notorious for the Vampire Diaries. Dawson's Creek would have been around that timeline.
That sounds like they
an oldie goldie.
Yeah, it sounds like Dawson's Creek is almost like it's
the teenage.
Like even Halloween H2O was like that too. So I wonder if he was a part of the Halloween H2O. It'd be nice.
We'll have to look that up. I'm sure we're going to do that one later on down the line.
Yeah, definitely.
One you hold very close to your heart.
Yes, I do.
So very. I know he has writing credits on a lot of. I could be wrong. It's like the CW type shows where it's the teenage era. Like he could write really good teenage stories that appeal to all ages. So yeah, they definitely created a mouth. His tagline for the movie was a new thriller from Wes Craven. Just that, no, how usually the tagline is like that big thing to draw in the audience. Yeah. I know with Jaws, it's Don't Go in the Water or something along those lines. Like there's a lot of little things like that. It was just a new thriller from Wes Craven because Wes Craven was so established in the horror community. Everyone knew what to expect when it came to him. You were getting something good.
Oh, yeah, definitely. For sure.
So I have it playing in the background while we do this recap to kind of keep me on track because, this one's going to be fun.
Yeah, we're going to be at this for a while, I think. It's probably going to be a good 2 or 3 hours. Yeah, we're going to be for sure.
I know this movie and a lot before it, a lot after it. This was one of the ones that had that big opener. The opener definitely, it does something for this movie. Just the way they film it, the raw emotions that Drew Barrymore displays when she's acting as Casey, it catches you. And I didn't realize until we had to decipher it for this podcast. There's never a dull moment in this movie, which was really tricky to write a recap for because, like I said, you couldn't leave much off the table. So yeah, it's Casey Becker. She's played by Drew Barrymore. I'm pretty sure they advertised her a lot being in this movie when all the trailers and the promotional stuff came out. I'm pretty sure it featured a lot of Drew Barrymore.
Oh, yeah, probably. She's on the cover of it, and she's only in the first 20 minutes or the first 15 minutes,
Exactly.
right? But the opening
Um,
is you know what you're as soon as you see that opening, like when the phone rings and then it
even
shows
the haircut.
yeah, and then it shows Dimension Films and the phone rings. You know what
Yep.
I mean? It's like,
That tone
oh,
of the phone,
yeah,
like
yeah. It was something special. It was something way beyond what we've ever seen. Like he redefined uh
he did.
the slasher teen, like, it's not the same.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is actually, it's similar to the Halloween, right? It's still similar. It's still a slasher, but
Very much so.
compare it to Friday the 13th, you can't really compare it to that because it's a different, but the Halloween is a
It's a
lot
different
similar.
atmosphere.
Yeah, Halloween's Scream is a lot similar to Halloween than. Anyways, you can continue. Go ahead.
No, 100%, you're right. And obviously, while we're doing this recap, it was really hard for me. I wanted to write a list of all the references that are made in this movie. Yeah, no, it's not going to happen. That's like
Yeah.
a full 3 hours on its own. But Halloween is basically slapped in your face this whole time. She mentions it in this open monologue. In the third act, it's being watched while everything's going down. It's There's no doubt that Halloween was like the big inspiration for this movie. But yeah, so it opens with Casey Becker, played by Drew Barrymore. Um, she's making that notorious scene with the Jiffy Pop. The Jiffy Pop's on the stove. Not to be your way already this early, but I just think of Scary Movie when I see that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
When they have that over exaggerated bag of popcorn on the stove.
What's that
But yeah,
popping
so
noise? What's that popping
exactly,
noise?
exactly. So yeah, she's just making Jiffy Pop. It's not exclusively mentioned, but her boyfriend's coming over. They're obviously planning on watching a movie, yada yada yada. So yeah, she's minding her own business as far as I'm concerned. Gets a call from obviously back in the day, there wasn't really. I feel like caller ID may have been starting around this time, but just based on the phone that she's using, I don't think caller ID would have been an option. It's just one of those plain cordless but early 90s phones, right?
Yeah.
So she just answers it like, hello. And it's a very ominous voice. Obviously, we've come to get used to Ghostface's voice. It's quite the phenomenon nowadays. Like, I'm pretty sure they have voice changer apps on your cell phone so you can sound like Ghostface.
Oh, guaranteed.
You know what I mean?
Guaranteed. Yeah, guaranteed.
So yeah, they're chit-chatting. She's a young girl on the phone, so she's kind of still being skeptical, but she seems like she's one of those girls who's nice to everyone, so she doesn't want to be rude or hang up on him or, kind of like be like, yo, what the fuck, why are you calling me? So she plays along with it for a little while. So basically they get to the point where, do you like scary movies? Yeah, what's your scary movie? And she can't really come up with anything. Like, I think she's kind of baffled by that question. So she responds with Halloween.
Yeah.
Because just like you, when you say, what's your scary movie?
Yeah, that's
it's Halloween.
A lot. I think when people even ask that, just in general, a lot of people think Michael Myers or Jason
Halloween.
Voorhees. Those are the two that come to mind right off the bat, 100%.
Exactly. They're the ones who made the biggest statement in the horror community until Scream came along, I'm pretty sure. Freddy too, don't get me wrong. I don't want to I don't want to take any fame away from Freddy or anything, but I don't think as much as he has a fan base, I think some people stayed away from Freddy because it's like the nightmare aspect. There was a lot of creepy shit going on there, and I think it wasn't people's comfort. Yeah. Because I know Freddy was very gruesome, whereas, like we talked about in the previous episode, a lot of the late 70s, early 80s, it was very diluted gore.
Yeah.
I feel like Freddy did not shy away from the gore at all by any means. When Johnny Depp gets sucked into that bed, I was not prepared for that.
Yeah. No, Freddy movies were definitely they were a
but
lot
again,
more
Wes
bloody.
Craven.
Yeah. No, for sure.
During their dialogue, actually, when he's asking what's your scary movie, and she responds with Michael Myers, whatever, she asks Ghostface what his favorite scary movie is. And he doesn't really answer right away. And she says something along the lines of, I bet it's Freddy, or he maybe asks her if Freddy is one of her favorite movies. Anyways, Freddy definitely gets mentioned. And she says, I like the first one, but not the anything that comes after that, or something along those lines. And Wes Craven did not write that. Kevin Williamson actually wrote that. And Wes Craven didn't want to keep that in the film because he thought it was a little bit conceited. But Kevin
Oh,
Williamson reminded him that he deserves it. He was the
really?
one who
Eh?
gave birth to Freddy, and
That's
the other
cool.
ones,
Yeah. No
it's a
shit.
popular horror community opinion that the first Freddy was the best one, and the other ones may have kind of went downhill.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
a little Easter egg that's featured in the first like 15 minutes of the opening credits. So like we've already gone there. Um, so yeah, they're kind of exchanging dialogue about all of that horror movie stuff. They get past the Freddy, they get past the Michael Myers thing. Um, she asks, oh, sorry, he ends up asking her at some point after that if she has a boyfriend, and she's kind of like, why do you want to know? She doesn't really give a direct
Yeah,
answer.
yeah,
Just why
yeah.
do you want to know? Is it because you want to date me? And he says maybe, and then asks again, kind of subtly, if you have a boyfriend. Um, and then he kind of asks her what her name is, and when she asks why, he says he'd like to get to know the name of the person he's looking at.
Yeah. And then, oh
And that's
yeah,
when the
yeah,
tone changes.
yeah,
It's not this cute little conversation that I'm trying
yeah,
to keep going anymore. She's
yeah,
startled. She's like, okay. Um, so she hangs up, which right before she does, he says, don't hang up on me. So the phone rings again, like almost instantly, and she answers it. And he said, I thought I told you not to hang up on me. And you can tell Ghostface's demeanor is kind of changing at this point. We're getting a little bit more
yeah,
aggressive
yeah,
and more aggressive as we go. She basically tells him to dial someone else, basically saying, I ain't putting up with this shit.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, she hangs up again, and then the next time she answers, I think it's, what do you want, asshole? He responds with, I'm gonna gut you like a fish if you hang up again, or something along those lines.
Yeah, 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 yeah. If you hang up again, I'll cut you like a, or no, I'll cut you. Yeah, I'll gut you until I feel bone, or I'll gut you like a fish. Yeah, it's something along those lines. Yeah,
Do you think that's a I Know What You Did Last Summer reference?
could be. I'll
With
gut you.
because
I gut.
Kevin
Yeah.
Williamson, like I didn't know. I kind of caught that, but again, I'm an overthinker, so I might just be seeing things. Um, so she at this point is like, if it's a sick joke, like, um, he reminds her it's more of a game. He kind of drops that little subtle hint.
Yeah,
She's
yeah,
panicked though. She's not really listening or reasoning with anyone at this point. Um, he asks if she can see him just to kind of like fuck with her, and she tells him she's calling the police. But he's not too worried because they're in the middle of nowhere. And I think she's slowly realizing that like him saying, I want to know the name of the person I'm staring at, it's not just a gimmick.
yeah,
Like we're in the
yeah,
middle of nowhere. This is becoming a little bit too
yeah,
close to home, right?
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yep,
she basically asks him, what do you want? And he replies with, to see what your insides look like.
yeah, yeah. And then,
Obviously, like I said, my notes have no justification of how it plays out on screen. This whole movie, even, I had a hard time writing this because my words cannot describe how well acted this movie is.
oh,
And even the
yeah,
storyline, the
it's
dialogue, like,
everything,
this is why it's going
everything.
to be a long one.
Lots of character building, lots, massive.
Absolutely.
You love every single character in this movie, even the ones you
Hmm.
hate, which you don't really hate any of them. You like all of them,
Exactly. We'll
And
get to her later, but the way that
yeah,
we're introduced to Gail, you're supposed to hate her, but we all have that warm
yeah,
spot for Gail, like, you know what I mean?
massive character
Mm,
building in this, massive, massive, massive character building in this, especially the first
they,
one. Like, I love
of
the whole
course,
franchise, but the first one and the first one, I don't know. There's something about the first one that it's the first one. I think it takes it away from all the other ones. The other ones are
yep.
still really good, but the first
Hmm.
one has something that the other ones don't have. It's
Exactly.
I think
Exactly.
it's just because what it did for horror, what it redefined. You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
a lot of movies when they do big sequel, like more sequels, a lot of them have a hard time living up to the first one all
They
the time,
either come too short or they get ahead of themselves.
or they get exactly they try too much to. Yes,
Exactly.
exactly. They and it's weird how it works, but like
Scream stayed nice and consistent. I'm not going to say that there wasn't a roller coaster along the way. It was just a small roller coaster. Like, there wasn't too many hiccups. I don't like all of the directions they made with like character choices and even how they Scream 3 is the least favorite of
Yeah.
franchise as far as I'm concerned, but it's not a bad movie.
No,
You know what I
no,
mean? It's still
just the
watchable.
least. Yeah, it's just the least favorite amongst every like you said that you've realized like every fan is like, yeah, I don't like Scream 3. I don't like.
I'm
Scream
never
3.
a big fan of them introducing an important character that's been around this whole time that later on in the movie. It's just I don't know. I'm not a fan of the when people when movies head that direction.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
No, for sure.
But
for
yeah.
sure.
So obviously things are heating up at the Becker house. After he tells her that he wants to know what her insides look like, the doorbell rings. The way that she expresses her emotions in that scene, like she basically just kind of throws it all out. She's hysterical. She's horrified. She looks up at the door after the doorbell rings, but there's no one there. It's just there's nothing. She yells, "Who's there? Who's there?" And she tells them she's going to call the police, but the phone rings, and Ghostface reminds her that you should never say who's there when there's a killer outside. I thought you liked horror movies, He's just mocking her in this moment.
Yeah, don't you know haven't you learned? Like, you know this.
Exactly. She basically threatens him and tries to intimidate him, saying that he better leave because her boyfriend will be pissed. He's a quarterback. He's this big, sports guy. He's buff. He's big. He'll take him out. He's not going to be too happy. He's on his way over. And then Ghostface mocks her again, saying, "Who's shaking in my boots? I'm so scared." Is his name Steve? And he tells her to turn the patio lights on. And she does. He's tied up. She goes to open the door, obviously, in instinct to go help him, but Ghostface tells her not to. Obviously, she's vulnerable in this situation, like her boyfriend's outside tied up. She's being, terrorized as far as I'm concerned. Again, he tells her he wants to play a game. Or he dies right now. So he's using Steven as leverage.
Yeah.
And obviously for high school girls, using your boyfriend as leverage usually works. She asks him what kind of game it is, and he tells her to turn off the lights. So she does so, and she kind of sloops like onto the wall, onto the floor, like she does that like dramatic slide. And she unplugs the light at the same time while he's explaining the game. So his first question, essentially, it's a trivia game. Name the killer in Halloween. She's having a really hard time answering it, which doesn't really make sense because her favorite horror movie is Halloween.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right.
But
at
it
the
proves
beginning.
how mentally unstable she is in this situation, right? Anyone else would be.
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't even have made it that far. So she answers with Michael Myers. Cool, let's move past this question. He asks her the real question this time, much to her dismay, which happens to be name the killer from Friday the 13th. Which, I mean, I feel like if you push anyone into a corner, they would answer with Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Sorry, with Jason. Hi.
Jason, yeah.
Exactly.
It's Jason, it's Jason. That's what she does.
Unless you've watched Scream an unhealthy amount of times, then you clearly know the answer to that question. It's Pamela Voorhees.
Yeah.
So again, the voice cockily reminds her that it was Jason's mother, and time's up for her boyfriend Steve. The screen switches to the outside patio, which her boyfriend Steve's tied up. They basically butcher him off screen for us, but in front of her.
Yeah.
So you kind of just see, like, you hear all the noises.
You hear the noises, yeah.
And you kind of see him fade away, and it's right in front of her. I kind of like the way they did that, though, just because in that moment, I feel like it wasn't really about us. It was about Casey and Ghostface.
Yeah.
Like, it was about introducing them as savages, essentially. So she's horrified. Her boyfriend just got butchered in front of her.
I like how you referred to Ghostface as them. Because like how you said that.
I'm used to it. I'm sorry.
I caught that because a lot of people, they say Ghostface, him. When I hear them talking, it's like it's not a him, it's a they, because it's always two people. Except for I think even part 4 was two people. Yes,
Part
it's always
4, it's 3. Number 3, it's Roman. And that's what I mentioned, how they introduced a character so far down the line. They introduced Roman as, I believe it's
Roman's
Sydney's
the guy with the
stepbrother.
glasses, eh?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's, I guess, her stepbrother or some kind of sibling relationship with Sydney. You don't hear about him until Scream 3.
Yeah.
And again, it's not to say Scream 3 is an awful movie. I just watched it the other day. I enjoy it. If I didn't like it, I wouldn't watch it. It's just to introduce someone of that importance and make them Ghostface because they have a vendetta against Sydney.
Yeah.
3 movies later, it's,
Yeah, it's kind of, yeah.
But yeah, even when we do Scream 3, you'll hear my theory about, I'm pretty sure there was 2 killers there, but one got killed off before the end. So you actually are only introduced to the one.
Okay.
But that's for another day.
That's for another day. Yeah.
So Steve's been killed. She's horrified. The killer has one more question, and this time it's her life that's on the line. The voice asks her, which door am I at? And she doesn't even know what to say. Like, what's happening? I can't believe this is happening around me. You know, even as a horror movie enthusiast, like, you don't think shit like that's going to happen to you. Like, you know, she can't answer it. But even before he really gives her a chance to try, he jumps through the window. He crashes through that window. So you get to see your killer for the first time. It's a black cloak with a white mask.
Yeah.
So Casey runs to the kitchen and she grabs a kitchen knife and she leaves out the patio door. She gently closes the door and peeks through the window. And like as she closes the door, it makes the door like latching noise. Why do you even close the door at this point? Run.
Yeah.
Open the door and run. You know.
Yeah. Cliche.
So she's peeking through the window. It's cliche.
It's
exactly.
a horror cliche horror movie cliche. That's what it is.
If she asked who's here, she's obviously going to close the door. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, she's kind of peeking through the window to make sure like the coast is clear. She ends up kind of like moving behind her like this, and she notices a car coming down either the road or the driveway. I couldn't really figure that out.
It was
the road, eh?
It was the road, yeah.
It's her parents.
Yeah, because they don't. Yeah. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, they obviously, as Ghostface mentioned, they're in the middle of nowhere. It looks like it's farmlands. You see some crops of some sort. So of course, it looks like she's comfortable. She's about to get out of it, and Ghostface comes crashing through again. She hits him with the phone, and a little bit earlier, you heard me say she grabbed a kitchen knife. I didn't realize what happened to that kitchen knife. I don't know why she used the phone instead of the kitchen knife, but she definitely like decks him in the face with the phone.
Oh yeah, you don't even see what she does with the kitchen knife. Once she grabs it, and then all of a sudden it's just not there, and now it's a phone. Like,
and I tried very hard to see what happened to that knife. But again, instincts, right? Like someone's after you, life or death. So at this point, she runs closer to the oncoming car, her parents, and she's running, and it's one of those it's the cool shots where the victim's running, and then the
killer's behind them.
The killer's behind them. It's kind of slow motion, but it's still happening like pretty quickly. And then you see him go in with the knife kills. He's puts a knife. I'm pretty sure it's right in the heart. Like
it's close to the heart or somewhere in the chest area. Anyways, yeah.
In Scary Movie, when they parody this movie, I'm pretty sure they take out an implant.
Yeah.
I wish I didn't know that because I will forever see that in this scene.
Yeah, I know. It
still doesn't ruin the movie.
I honestly think I seen Scary Movie before I seen Scream, to be honest with you. I think so too. And then like there's so many scenes in Scream where I just think a Scary Movie. Instead of grabbing the knife, there's a gun, a banana, a knife. You know what I mean? Something and a grenade, and she grabs the banana. And it's like. I'll forever see
Does that go back to our previous episode, the banana kill in Friday the 13th?
Yeah, okay.
But while we're on this topic, so Scream was originally to be called Scary Movie.
Yes, I know that one. Yeah, it was originally supposed to be called Scary Movie. Yep.
Do you find it ironic that Scary Movie, which is a parody of Scream, like you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and Scary Movie. Okay, so Scream was 96. When was Scary Movie? I'm gonna check. I'm gonna check this out for a sec.
It says 2000, but I don't know if that's just like generically classing it as a 2000s movie. No, it was
looks
released
like
in 2000s.
yeah. Okay, 4 years after Scream. There we go. Yeah, 4 years. Yeah, okay, makes sense. But yeah,
It
it's
does make
ironic.
sense.
It's ironic that that they called it Scary Movie when Scream was
I
supposed to be
agree.
called Scary Movie. Yeah,
I
for
agree.
sure.
And you know what? Scary Movie, as you know, as silly as it gets sometimes, they really did a good job of paying homage to Scream.
Oh,
There's so many.
the
Like,
first one is amazing, and I Know
it's
What You Did
funny.
Last Summer is in there as well.
Yes, yes, it is. Yeah. With
Like
Friday the not Friday the 13th, Freddy versus Jason, Lachlan Monroe.
Lachlan Monroe, yeah. The
Yes,
wife met
yep.
him. I got his autograph there. The wife met him in Frightmare in the Falls. Yeah, that was like not one of his. That was one of his earlier movies. Anyways, I think he did one or two
Hmm.
movies before that. But yeah, no,
And he would have played Ryan Phillips' character, I think, right? Like the asshole of
yes,
the
the
bunch, if I'm not
jock.
mistaken.
Yes,
Yeah,
the jock. Yes, yeah. And he played. Yeah, he's such a dickhead in that movie. Where
he is. He is.
Ryan Phillips is not, and I Know What You Did. Like he is, but he's not. He's kind of like
Hmm.
he doesn't
He
take
plays
shit.
that
But
kind of like, not to be rude to those people, but like the cocky jock, like I'm on top of the
yeah,
world. I have a hot
yeah,
girlfriend. Like my shit's
yeah,
better than everyone else.
yeah,
Doesn't mean he's a bad
exactly.
guy.
No, yeah,
So yeah, she gets stabbed to the heart, basically in the chest, right above the heart, kind of. She tries to fight him off though. He kind of goes to choke her. He overpowers her.
yeah. And then I remember because she grabs his mask, and then the camera kind of turns
Exactly.
away. Yeah, the camera turns
Yes,
away from when she grabs his
she
mask.
definitely gets to see her killer before she dies, which I feel like is a rarity in Scream, the franchise. Not too many people unmask that killer.
No, that's true for sure, for sure.
The third act usually finds out who the killers are, but
Yeah,
not that
yeah.
early in the movie. People don't
No,
really get
no.
exposed.
Yeah,
So her parents
exactly.
are basically almost home at this point. They're almost in the driveway. And she has enough power to get up and she goes to yell for her parents, but I guess where he stabbed her, or maybe she just doesn't have enough energy, she doesn't have a voice anymore.
Yeah, she doesn't have a voice. Yeah.
The way she
Yeah.
screams, oh my God, props to Drew Barrymore. Um, yeah, it was gut wrenching.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I still want to
Um,
talk about that opening scene, man.
It's we're still on the freaking opening scene. We haven't even met
Yeah,
Sydney Prescott yet, and we're like 27 minutes in.
I love the
Um,
opening scene, man. It's one of my favorites to a horror movie ever. It's so
Absolutely.
it's
And it's
amazing.
so easy to distinguish. Like I could be at someone's house and like I see like one little snippet of the screen, and I'm like, oh, you're watching Scream.
Yeah.
It's
Oh
so,
yeah. Oh yeah.
it's
Oh yeah. For
nostalgic.
sure.
It's
Yeah.
nostalgic too, and I mean,
Definitely.
we all know that nostalgia means something to you and I. So,
Oh
um,
yes. The only reason we're
so
doing this is because of nostalgia.
exactly.
Really. Anyways,
So
go ahead.
Ghostface overpowers her again, and you see him go to slash her, and I'm pretty sure that's the last time you see Casey Becker alive. Um, it cuts to her parents. Um, they get home. I think they kind of smell a little bit of smoke before they enter the door. Like they kind of exchange looks a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
They get inside. The popcorn shoe is that Jiffy Pop. It's burnt at this point. It's a crisp.
The alarm's
There's been
going off.
obvious signs of struggling. Yeah, the alarms are going off. Her parents are a little bit panicked. Her dad goes to kind of search the house a little bit. He's in the kitchen. He goes to look out the patio door. I noticed that. Like, I'm pretty sure they insinuate in that scene that dad saw Steve's body in the backyard. Because mom goes to call the cops. And as soon as she grabs the phone, Casey's on the other line. Because if you remember, she's holding the phone. She hit Ghostface in the face with the phone.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
was still
Yeah.
holding that phone, and you can kind of see her or hear her choppy
You can
breathing,
hear her. Yeah. You
the
can hear.
raspiness.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think actually. I hope it's okay for me to cut in if I remember
Mm.
something when you're doing the recap. You hear. I'm pretty sure Ghostface continues stabbing her actually,
Okay.
and I
Yeah.
think you hear her going ah. And
Yeah.
you hear. I'm pretty sure he continues stabbing her. Anyways,
Yeah,
and
for
then
sure.
yeah, mom makes a face. The camera zooms to her. But yeah, anyways,
Exactly. And that kind of alerts the dad to get out of the kitchen and goes to the mom, and he grabs the phone and he looks at her and says, run to the Mackenzies for help, or get in the car and go to the Mackenzies. That's a Halloween reference. I know I don't need to
yeah,
tell you that, but the
yes,
audience needs to know. Also, I want to apologize to anyone listening if I act like some of this stuff is public knowledge. Um, I've watched Scream and so have Sean our whole lives, so it might sound like we expect you guys to know this shit, but we learn as we go all together, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so
Couldn't agree more,
yeah,
Brittany. Couldn't
I
agree.
apologize
The
in
way you
advance.
put that, I guess, yeah.
You
I would have
know
kind
what
of
I
been a
mean?
little. I would have been a little more. Uh, Not aggressive, but like, okay, if you're watching this podcast and tuning in and you don't know half of these facts, well then what the hell? But
And obviously, we cover the movie in pretty good detail too. So, like, I think your best recommendation would either be watch along, because obviously these things last 2 hours. Usually, that's the duration of the whole movie. Watch along the movie in the background while you listen to us, or even watch the movie before listening to us. You'll probably be
yeah,
able to stay on the same page,
yeah, exactly.
unless you know them by heart like we do. But you might not be that type.
Probably not.
So probably not. I don't expect you to. Casey's dad grabs the phone. It ends up going dead not too long after he grabs it. He tells his wife to run to the Mackenzies, like I mentioned, Halloween reference.
Yeah.
As mom leaves, she whispers, "Not my daughter, not my daughter." That hurt me a little bit. She played that with really good emotion.
Yes.
You don't really see too many interactions like that in Halloween where they humanize the situation.
Yes.
Like these are people playing people.
No, exactly. Do we know who the actors that played dad and mom, or
No, not off the top of my head. No. I don't. I'm not too familiar.
The performance was amazing. It just like for the
they
first,
were phenomenal.
It's like a 7-minute scene, like, or a 7-minute portrayal, right? They only maybe got like the most of 7 minutes on screen, and just the way
And
they
deserve to be more than just Casey Becker's parents. They deserve to be more just by the acting that they portray.
No, exactly.
And even the way that they portray like the married couple with a teenage daughter without saying too many words, they do a very good job of it. It's very close to home. It's very natural.
Yes, definitely.
100%. Yeah. So she's whispering, "Not my daughter, not my daughter," and you can see the emotion between them two. They're just kind of looking at each other. She goes to leave the door, and you see her vision, and she just starts shrieking. She's wailing at the top of her lungs.
Yep.
And then the camera flips, and you see you see Casey hanging, gutted by a tree.
Yeah, I think she's hanging by a sheet or something, or intestines,
something like that.
Like hanging out of her belly.
Traumatizing, just pure trauma, right?
That's how you open a movie. That's
how you open a movie.
Yes, that's how you open a movie. That was, yeah.
And to start a movie like that, usually like a scene like that is the second act or third act in a movie because so much happens. It's well played. It's to open a movie like that, to start off with that kind of a bang. Oof.
Yeah.
What are we getting ourselves into?
No, exactly. You see that and you already, like, what am I walking into, right? Like, holy shit, this was just like the first 15, 20 minutes of the movie, and just all that, like, wow, okay,
exactly.
And just keeps
all the references that were made, like, whew.
Keeps you wanting to watch. Keeps you wanting to watch it. After that, you're like, holy shit! All right, like, I can't wait.
It keeps you hooked, and it gets you coming back.
Yeah, exactly. I can't wait to see what's next.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's crazy how this opening goes down in history for sure. So yeah, her parents are both horrified. It's too bad. She was a good actress. A lot of people were shell shocked when they killed Drew Barrymore off this early in the movie. As I said, she was pretty much like the biggest hyped actor when it came to this.
Yeah.
I feel like the most famous actor after her would have been Courtney Cox, who plays Gail. She was 2 years into Friends at this point, and obviously she's pretty famous for Friends.
Yeah.
Drew Barrymore actually asked to be killed off this early in the movie. She wanted to surprise everyone, and it was basically supposed to be kind of like a reference to Psycho, because we'll get into that, I'm sure, one day. They kill off the main character, who you would think would be the main character, pretty early on into that movie as well. So there goes Wes Craven, making another movie reference. And Kevin Williamson, I should say. So yeah, that's the opener. I feel like it's about 25 to 30 minutes. Like, that's how long the opening is.
Yeah, I'd say it's about 20, probably 20
pretty
minutes. Yeah, 20 minutes.
So now we get to meet the good old Sidney Prescott. She's in her bedroom.
Played by Nev Campbell, by the
Yes,
way.
sorry, played by Ned Campbell. I feel like I don't know if it was The Faculty that would have been around this time too that she played in. I don't know if it's Faculty.
I'm gonna check. Give me a quick second here.
She plays. It's not The Faculty. Sorry, it's the one with the witches.
The one with the witches.
I'm pretty sure it's witches.
We got
The Craft. Sorry, The Craft.
The Craft. Yeah.
The Craft.
Okay. Yeah. The Craft. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure she might have been recognized for this, or The Craft came after Scream. I'm not too sure, but she was famous for this as well as a couple little TV shows, I believe. But yeah, the phenomenal Neve Campbell, as I mentioned, she's totally Kiara in the Lion King franchise, so that will forever live in my head rent free. But she does a great job. Because I watched Scream so much and I grew up as a kid loving Lion King, her voice is so gentle for someone who plays in a horror movie, and I think that's why it works so good, because you wouldn't expect someone to have that scream, that mentality, because she's so soft spoken, you know.
Yeah, and
you wouldn't think.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you wouldn't take her as a fighter. You definitely wouldn't take her as a fighter.
No, exactly. That's what. And she comes back and she, at the end, she fights and she kicks the shit out of him, right?
Every single time.
Every single time.
At this point, she should be the villain in the franchise, because Ghostface has never been able to take her down, you know?
Back to The Craft, it was 96 when it came out, too. So, it was 96 when it came out, so it would have been... She might have been filming 2 movies. She might have been...
At the same time.
Yeah, she might have been filming, she might have been filming 2 movies. I wish we had more knowledge on that.
Which proves, obviously, how much of a dedicated actress she is. That's a lot of work. I think she was 22 when she came on as Sidney Prescott as well. I'm pretty sure she's about 22 years old. I think she's on like a... Yeah, in real life, yeah. When she starts, I'm pretty sure it's when they're filming. She was 22 years old. And she does a very good job for a young actress, because I don't think she was a child actor. So I feel like she would have been probably adapting that acting role probably in her late teen years. I'm not too sure, though. Don't quote me on that. I'm just assuming. Whatever she did a great job acting, that's for sure.
Oh, definitely. Yes.
So she's kind of, I feel like she's getting ready for bed. I think she's kind of in like something that you'd consider PJ attire. She gets startled by someone knocking on her window. We meet Billy Loomis, played by Skeet Ulrich. That will forever be my Ghostface. Him and like these 2 guys, these are my Ghostface.
Oh yeah, they 100%. You can't top them, man. They were spectacular, man. They were
so
spectacular.
There's no doubt about how much of a Johnny Depp lookalike Skeet is, Billy.
Yep.
I think that's part of the reason why he might have gotten the role. Obviously, Friday the 13th, like oh my god, Nightmare on Elm Street. Sorry.
Yeah. I just want to touch that his last name is Loomis too.
Exactly, 100%.
I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, so there's actually a lot of Nightmare on Elm Street little homages in this movie as well.
And
Johnny Depp, actually.
And Halloween too.
And Halloween as well, exactly. So yeah, Billy Loomis, Skeet, his most recent performances would obviously be, again, not expecting you to know this, it would be Riverdale. I have a feeling Kevin Williamson might be involved with Riverdale. Let me see. Something's telling me he is. But yeah, so Skeet Ulrich, he's definitely introduced as Sydney's boyfriend. As far as what kind of boyfriend he is, he's a little bit shady. I'm pretty sure established from the get-go. She should probably have trust issues with him just based off his behavior.
He definitely does have something about him. His behavior is, he's a little creepy.
There's something off, weird, and to each their own.
He's a little creepy, kind of weird, yeah.
I can't find it, but that's okay. Yeah, he's definitely he's a little dark, and there's nothing wrong with being a dark person. He might get a little bit carried away with it. How about
that quote that he sells?
Oh my god! So yeah,
Sydney.
So basically, her dad knocks on the door because when Billy startled Sydney, she kind of let off a little scream. Um, Scream, huh? And he tells her that he's going away from work at the same time. Whenever Billy overhears this, take note of that. Um, so Billy's crouching behind or beside the bed as Sydney's dad, Mr. Neil Prescott, is talking to her. He ends up going away. Good night, Sydney. So Billy comes back out and he says to her that he was at home watching The Exorcist and it reminded him of her. Girl, run. If
Wow,
anyone ever says that to
thanks.
you,
Yeah,
fucking
oh,
run.
thank you. Wow, why? Yeah, that's and it's
So
funny too
when I
because
texted you that, I was like, excuse me?
yeah, wow, that's
Go
such an
ahead.
insult. No, it's just funny because in Scary Movie, Sydney goes, if this is about the time that I masturbated with a crucifix and drank 3 kegs and threw up everywhere, it was my first keg party, Bobby. You know what I mean?
So
After he says, I was watching The Exorcist and it got me thinking of you. Like, who says that? Oh,
exactly.
oh, thanks, babe. Like, you know?
So you can kind of see her like, okay, like, Um, so he ends up saying I think he tries to redeem himself with this, saying it was edited for TV and all the good shit is cut out. You're not helping your case, buddy. I would shut
No.
up if I were you.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
definitely. Those are things that,
so
that you and me
yes,
listen to that other people do, they're like,
exactly.
it doesn't really tune in. They don't really tune into stuff like that. Like, okay, this guy's,
No,
what the fuck did he just say? Like,
I'll be watching like my true crime or something, just laying in bed, relaxing, and like Jeff's looking at me like, are
yeah,
you well? Like, what are you listening to? Do you find this relaxing?
yeah.
So
I
it's
got
basically, yeah.
sorry. Go. I was just gonna say. I guess the other night, I came home and it was like, I don't know. I think it was like 2 in the morning, and I wanted to put on Sinister, and the wife didn't want to watch it, and I got all upset because I said you turned off my comfort movie, and I started crying and shit. I'm like, who watches Sinister at 2 in the morning? That's my comfort. That's one of my comfort movies. I have a lot of comfort movies, but
You are
yeah,
who you are, as long as you don't hurt anyone while you're enjoying yourself,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, no.
Um, so he doesn't even have to display his shadiness with the words. It's just the way that Skeet plays Billy, like the facial expressions, I don't know, he's intimidating by just his presence, you know what I
It's a
mean?
presence. Yeah, it's an electrifying presence.
The
Like it's
Grim
a
Reaper
yeah.
is in the room, like,
Yeah, exactly. No, I that's totally and
you know what I mean?
it almost like if you weren't like if you when you're first watching Scream, it's almost like it already it's kind of silly because like you kind of already want to think that it's him a little bit
Exactly.
just because the way he acts and then it turns out to be him, right? So
Exactly.
like Matthew Lillard, there's no way that you would think it's him at all whatsoever, but
And then you rewatch it and you're like, really?
yeah, I mean,
Like you rewatch it and you just catch all these little things, the things that he says. Again, Matthew Lillard does it just like Skeet does, the facial expressions. Matthew does
yes,
a lot of them in a different
yeah,
way.
does,
Um,
he does definitely.
if I could go back in time and watch one movie for the first time all over again, it would be Scream.
Oh
I
yeah,
watched it when I
cool.
was young, so I always knew that it was Billy and Stu. So as I'm like an adult watching it, it's not that it takes away the shock factor, because again, I love it.
Yeah,
I just wish I could experience not knowing it was them for the
yeah,
first time all over again.
I hear you with some of the
Because we
movies
grew
I
up with
watch.
them being
Yes,
Ghostface, right?
yes,
Um,
exactly.
so it's established that Sydney is going through a few personal issues, and Billy wants to get laid. Obviously, I want to say he's acting like he's a supportive boyfriend, but he's not really doing a good job of it.
Yeah, no, not
Um,
at all, not at all.
Billy, not Skeet. Skeet does an amazing job of channeling Billy. Um, so in my notes, I wrote they get a little romantic with each other as 90s grunge music plays softly in the background. Perfect for the 90s.
Yes,
Beautiful.
yes,
Um,
definitely.
Sydney reminds Billy that her dad's home. Billy takes that as a hint to leave. They say their goodbyes. He descends out of her window. That's a Nightmare on Elm Street reference, if I believe. The window. entering, if I'm not mistaken.
No, that was, well, I know it's in Freddy versus Jason.
Okay.
I remember it's in Freddy versus Jason. Will is like, oh, remember that time
Yes,
I
it is.
snuck up to your room like I used to, only you weren't there. And then,
Yes, it is.
that's when he sees
Does Johnny
Laurie.
Depp character do this to Nancy?
I have to go back and watch.
I'm
Honestly,
in the same boat. I watched it so long ago that I don't
Yeah,
recall, but I think that is a subtle little like hat tip for
I'm not. Yeah,
Friday.
I'm not a.
If I call Nightmare on Elm Street Friday the 13th one more time, I'm exiting the chat. Just saying. Jesus Christ.
I'll hold you to that. No, I'm not I'm not a like. I don't. I do like the Freddy movies. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know enough about them.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
they're not. I don't watch.
They're
them
legendary,
enough.
but they're not my cup of tea that good. Like,
No,
not gonna lie, I'll still watch them.
I found him too comedic. He's not creepy. He's not scary. I love
Exactly.
I love how he plays with his he plays with his
Yep.
victims.
Robert Englund is an amazing
that
villain.
guy's a legend.
There's no doubt about it.
One of the most iconic actors in horror film history. Like
and they
Doug
have such a
Bradley
major
and-
fan base, so it's not to say that
Yes.
Nightmare on Elm Street is shit. It's amazing. It's just, it's not my go-to.
No,
It's not my
me
go-to.
either. Like, if there's not even.
I'd rather
Nightmare
see
on Elm
people get
Street
eaten
in
by
our top
sharks.
10. Yeah, there's not even.
Yeah.
There's not. It's not even in our
Exactly,
top
and
10.
it's not
right?
to say that it doesn't deserve to not be in the top 10s. I'm pretty sure when it goes down to the best horror movie villains, Freddy is definitely in the top 10 list.
No, Freddy's probably in the top 5, guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
He's definitely.
It's just
in the top
not
5.
our favorite mutually.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, it's your mom's favorite.
No, my mom loves Freddy. So does my sister.
I think I do remember Casey loving Freddy, and I do
Yeah.
remember you loving Freddy too. But we grow up, we move on to other things, right?
Yeah. Well, I came to school dressed as Freddy. My first day
Oh,
at school
yeah.
when you
First
first
impression.
met me, right?
And here we are. I was
Yeah.
probably like a butterfly or something because we were in grade fucking 5.
Here I am, 10 years old, coming in dressed as Freddy. But anyways, we'll go back to Scream there.
So as he descends out the window, she asks him if he'll settle for a PG-13 relationship, and she flashes him. I kind of thought that was cute.
Yeah.
I know that sounds fucked up coming out of my mouth, but like just the way it's portrayed, like I feel like that's the first glimpse we get of them like kind of smiling together, and
Yes,
it's obviously
yep,
established that they're boyfriend girlfriend, right?
Yep.
Again, PG-13, another movie reference essentially. Even the dialogue between Sydney and Billy, I'm pretty sure they exchanged a lot of movie references there. Of course, it's Scream. They're obviously going to talk about movies.
Yeah, there's a lot.
So,
there's so many if you pay attention.
Absolutely.
Like, yeah.
They don't even reference only horror movies. They talk about other movies as well.
Yep.
That's why it's so hard to keep up with.
Yes.
We switch over to a school parking lot with a police barrier up. There's lots of action going on. Sydney is walking on this property, so you can kind of guess that this is her high school. So we see a news anchor clad in lime green. It's like a two-piece outfit, lime green, totally 90s. It's Gail Weathers, who's played by Courtney Cox.
Yes.
Monica on Friends. She plays Gail Weathers. Actually, she's the only character to be in every movie in every installment.
Yes.
She's the only original character.
Other than, obviously, David Arquette dies.
Yep.
Spoiler, but David Arquette dies in part 5.
Yep.
Which, part 5, honestly, is probably my second favorite from the franchise, just because David Arquette,
they do good.
Dewey, he's the lead. And that hospital scene, I love the hospital scene where he walks out with the elevator and he throws all of his bullets on the ground, shakes his gun, and then he puts 6 back in and he rolls it and he I love that scene.
It's the good last stand,
Yes,
I know a lot of people
scene.
don't agree with what happens to him, and we'll talk about that more in Scream 5.
Yes.
But just to kind of paint a picture of Dewey's character arc, by the time Scream 5 happens, he's not washed up, but you could tell he's seen some shit. He's not necessarily playing the goofy character. He still has a little bit of that clumsiness, that funk, but he's a lot more cutthroat, like, let's do this, like you said.
He's miserable.
It's time to end this, whether I go out with it, But Gail Weathers, she's fierce, she's determined, she's a news reporter. She's kind of cutthroat. she wants to be on top and she wants to stay on top. So she's giving a report on Casey and Steven's murder. Sydney kind of overhears and she's kind of startled because this is the first time she heard of it. And we were introduced to her best friend Tatum. She's played by Rose McGowan. I hope I said that right. Again, I'm pretty sure she's a very high-rated actress. I'm not too familiar of everything that she's in, but I know that she does have some pretty mighty fine movie credits under her belt.
Okay.
So Tatum goes into exclusive detail about how Casey and Steve were killed. She definitely paints the picture that it was very gory, very bloody. They got hacked to death. Which brings us to Sydney going to class, and they do this shot in a lot of movies where you're in high school and that person died, and it's that student looking at that person's empty desk.
Yes, yeah. Oh, yeah, they do it.
They do it in so many, but in this one it works so well because the next person's going to be said, you know.
Yeah.
We don't know it yet at that time, but I mean, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think Casey and Sid were like BFF or anything, but obviously they were acquainted to each other because they were in the same class. Casey actually, we end up finding out very shortly that she's actually Stu's ex-girlfriend who broke up with him for Steven.
Steve, yes.
Let that one sit in your heads for a bit. And if you guys don't know this already, to each their own, but I'm kind of disappointed. So she gets called to the principal's office for an interview. We learn a little bit more about what Sydney's been through over the past year in this moment, I'm pretty sure. We find out that her mother was killed.
Yeah, I was just about to say with her mother, yeah.
They don't really paint a big picture of what happened there, but it's obviously mentioned she's killed. So obviously that leaves Sydney, a teenage girl without a mother, which is super hard. So it kind of paints the picture of. Ooh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think they mentioned. That Sydney's mother was killed, right? Like by
the Woodsboro murder, the original Woodsboro murder. Yes.
Yes. Okay,
yes, you're right.
Yes, they do.
You're right. I had to skip some things unless we wanted to be here all day, okay?
Yeah. Well, that's all right. We got lots of time.
I got you to fill in the blanks.
Yes.
So this is probably one of my favorite non-action scenes in the movie when the kids are at the fountain.
I love that.
It's just the dialogue.
Yes.
So we have Stu, which would be Matthew Lillard, the one and only Matthew Lillard, underrated as fuck.
Very underrated.
He deserves so much more. So much more credit for his acting skills.
Than what he gets, yeah, exactly.
100%. Obviously, 13 Ghosts would be one of the horror community movies that he'd be in. He's Shaggy in Scooby-Doo, which us 90s, 2000 kids obviously appreciate. I know he's going to be a pretty prominent character in Five Nights at Freddy.
Oh, is he really?
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
cool.
He's the owner of the establishment who has a pretty hefty background.
Oh, that's cool.
So I'm really excited to see his acting in this one.
I think
because I know your niece is a really big Five Nights of Freddy, if I'm not mistaken.
I sent the trailer to my sister, and she's like, "Yeah, she already knows about that." Of
course she did.
And I even told
if
Rox,
she's related to you, of course she did.
Of course, I even told Rox, I was like, "This looks pretty good. We might go see it. It's a horror movie. Why
I think
not?"
I might.
You know,
I think I used to play the game, so I kind of know like the lore behind it. So I think I might.
All right. Yeah.
So where was I? Jeez, Brittany, it's too early to get this. Yes. Okay. How could I forget? So yeah, Matthew Lillard, non-horror. Without a Paddle comes to mind.
Without a Paddle. Yep.
I'll always love that movie. So we're also introduced to Randy. Randy is a movie nerd. Ask him anything, he'll know it.
Yep.
So he's kind of like exactly. He's kind of the fifth wheel of the friends.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, because Stu is obviously Tatum's boyfriend, Billy and Sydney, and then you got Randy. So it's kind of awkward. Like there's a little bit of awkwardness between the male characters. Like, I don't know if it's like a dick measuring contest or not, but like I feel the like the tension between like the masculinity, the testosterone. Like there's some kind of
Well, they're always. It's almost like they're not taking shots at each other, but like yeah, they're
someone's
trying
always trying to one up the other. Like you know what I
exactly.
mean?
It's like, oh yeah, well, yeah, well, like yeah,
And it
but no.
works. They play so well together that it works. It's very entertaining.
The dialogue
It's enjoyable.
is great. Like you said, the dialogue is great. It's great.
Exactly.
In that scene.
So I feel like it's pretty stereotypical too when it comes to the characters, because obviously you have Sydney, who's kind of like the quiet girl. You have Tatum, who's a little bit more bubbly, obviously the party one of them. Yeah. Billy's kind of negative Nancy, Mr. Dark. You got Randy, who would be the nerd, and then Stu would be the goofball. You know, that's kind of how I perceived it as. So while the boys are having their dick measuring contest, as far as I'm concerned, Randy kind of accuses Stu of killing Casey and Tatum. Tatum says that Stu was with her. He gives him, she gives him an alibi. This scene was very hard to recap because it was either I was writing the whole scene or I was cutting out everything and only focusing on certain parts. So we did the second part. So there's a little bit of dialogue where after that's tossed around that Stu was the murderer, no, he was with me, says Tatum. Stu says, I didn't kill anyone. And Billy kind of ominously looks at him like, no one said you didn't.
Yeah.
His looks tell it all, you know. Stu says, thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
And then Randy kind of, tries to lighten the mood because he kind of made it all awkward. Besides, it takes a man to do something like that. And then Stu says, I ought to gut your ass in a second, kid. And then Randy it says Jerry Lewis was who he was channeling in this little snippet of dialogue.
Lewis? Okay.
Yeah. Tell me something. Did you really put her liver in the mailbox? Because I heard they found her liver in the mailbox next to her spleen and her pancreas. So he's just, being kind of a nasty, playful asshole. Sydney's obviously very.
Voice. Yeah, he
does. He does that voice. Exactly.
Yeah. So that's who that was.
Then,
I thought he was doing. It sounded like he was doing Buffalo Bill or Hannibal. Like I thought he was doing.
That would make sense.
Yeah, I never looked into it there, but I thought that's what he was doing. But you said Jerry Lewis?
This came from IMDb, though. I will credit them for that. I will credit them for the majority of my research, actually. They're the ones who put, like, channeling Jerry Lewis. I'm not too sure if maybe that's an actor from one of, like, the earlier horror movies, because obviously Scream is inspired by a lot of that. And I'm pretty sure Stu makes, like, a comment saying, like, leave her alone or something like that instead of leave her alone.
Yeah.
Sydney's super uncomfortable. I think she gets up and walks away. Billy seems to be annoyed that Stu upset Sydney, but obviously after watching this movie, it's because Stu's not being low-key. He's getting annoyed that, like, Stu's getting a little bit too extra about all this murder talk. He's kind of getting off on it. He's getting all excited. So you see Sydney getting off the bus and going home, and she checks in the mailbox. I thought that was kind of funny because Randy just made that comment about the liver, the organs. So Sydney's on the phone with Tatum, and they make plans because of all this police stuff, because it's giving Sid a deja vu, which obviously corresponds with everything that happened with her mom. She's walking around her house and appears to be packing an overnight bag while she sits on the couch of Casey's death. She changes the channel twice, and she ends up stumbling on Gail reporting the death as well. And Gail brings up how Sydney's mother was stabbed and killed a year prior. So Sydney looks at a clock, and it's very established that it's daylight right now. She looks at a picture of her and her mother, and then she gets comfortable on the couch, and she ends up falling asleep. When she wakes up, it's darkness. She mentions to Tatum on the phone, because Tatum calls her. I think that's what wakes Sid up from her little snooze. She mentions to Tatum that it's past 7, and Tatum tells her that practice ran late. Sid tells her to hurry up, because obviously she's really uncomfortable. I don't blame the girl. There's some freaky shit going on. And then she hears something in the distance. The phone rings again. It's the same person that called Casey.
Yeah.
We know that. She doesn't. So I put a comment saying, I feel like this is Billy on the phone.
Yeah.
I feel like the caller is Billy. He asks her if she likes if she likes movies, scary movies, and asks her what her favorite one is. And she basically goes on describing how they're all the same. It begins with a big tittied girl, like not that exact word,
Yeah.
but a big chested girl.
Walking up the
Exactly.
running up the stairs when she should be going out the
Should be
front door.
running
It's
out the door.
insulting. It's
Exactly.
insulting. Yeah.
She's kind of mocking the whole horror genre, I'd say.
Yeah.
And she kind of insinuates that it's Randy, which he sternly tells her it's not Randy. He makes that very clear.
Maybe
he tells her
I'm not Randy. Yeah.
Exactly. He tells her he's outside, but she calls his bluff. She opens the door, looks outside, and he's not there. What a bad bitch.
Yeah.
You know, like you say you're outside. No, you're not. I'd be in the bathroom crying. So she asks him where he is, and he responds with right here. She looks around and asks him if he can see her right now, and she sticks her finger up the nose, because she's still not taking this seriously. Like, what an awful prank. Do better is what she's thinking. She asks him she asks him what she's doing.
What am I doing?
Exactly. And she mentions again that she thinks it's Randy. So Ghostface gets annoyed at this point, and Sydney kind of hangs up because she thinks it's a joke. Like, what a waste of time, So that happens, and he calls back. Ghostface calls back, and he threatens her. If she hangs up and asks, he threatens her if she hangs up again, or if she does hang up, and asks her if she wants to die like her mother did.
Yes.
Now we're getting to a whole different escalation.
Yeah.
She tells him off though. Still, she's horrified. Yeah. She's kind of, I wouldn't say as far as horrified right now. She's kind of more skeptical.
Yeah.
Again, she has a very calm, natural demeanor.
Yeah, definitely.
She tells him off and hangs up, and then he comes crashing through. A fight ensues, and Ghostface is feeling clumsy, and he kind of trips on the carpet. I don't know if you caught that hit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He always trips and falls, to be honest.
Knife gets stuck in the door, Poor guy. It's not working out for him. It's not his night. Maybe he should try on Friday the 13th. That it works for Jason, right? So yeah, the knife gets stuck, and it allows Sydney a little bit of time to kind of run up into the bedroom. She closes the door.
Where she was literally just saying that it's all the same. Women run up the stairs when they should be going out the front door, but then she just does.
Front door.
She just runs up the stairs too.
This is why we're partners, because you literally just took the words out of my mouth.
Perfect.
Fantastic. Less I have to say.
Yes.
So she closes the door behind her. The phone line is cut, so she can't call 911 like she wants to. So she MSNs, emails, or AIMs them. I'm not really too sure.
Yes.
Was that a thing in '96 or?
I don't really know.
Maybe.
I don't really know. It'll be something to check up later on, I guess. I don't want to sit here and pause too long while we're looking, right?
Right. We don't want to make this any longer than it has to be.
Next, as we get our podcast more and more, I want to get a third. I want to get a third party in here, maybe Rocks or something. If we need to get information, we'll just, hey babe, can you check this? And she'll, here's the answer. You know what I mean? Joe Rogan does it.
Absolutely.
I think it'd be a great thing. I think he's got Jamie, right? So he'll just say, hey Jamie, can you search this up? And then Jamie will find the answer right away. So that's
Roxy, you're hired.
Yeah, that's something we're going to be incorporating in the future for sure.
So as she's MSNing, we'll say MSN for nostalgic reasons, Billy pops into her window again, and he's playing the concerned boyfriend card at this point. What's wrong? Are you okay? I heard you screaming.
But it's still weird how he just came out through the window, literally when Ghostface just left. That was kind of weird.
And he even says, he's gone. I don't know about you, but if your girlfriend was that distraught when she has that natural, calm demeanor, would you just kind of play it off as, he's not here anymore, he's gone, everything's okay?
Right? Right.
So as that's playing out, a cell phone falls out of his pocket, and like we're 1996, we're not 2006, 2016. Cell phones weren't necessarily as popular back then.
Nope.
So
Especially
that obviously gives her a huge red flag.
Especially the cell phones they had too. They were, wonky and.
So who do you think? Because obviously Billy wasn't in the frame the whole time. Who attacked her and who called?
I think Billy. Yeah, I think Billy called. Stu attacked her.
To me, the call was too calm. Like, not to say Billy's calm, but Stu's kind of all over the place.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the way he was talking, I think it was Billy. Just because, like you said, Billy's a little more like he's kind of like
monotone.
Yeah, and he's got one.
He stays
one
consistent.
Level, yeah. And
whereas Stu's voice changing, like up, down, side, like you know what I mean. He's all over the place.
Yeah. Like let's face it. Like we could say, okay, well a cell phone fell out of his pocket, but so did a glove and so did gloves and a knife, right? But
exactly.
I think it was I think it was Billy that called, and I think it was Stu that attacked her 100% because.
And at the end of the day, if a lighter falls out of your pocket, does that make you a smoker?
No. Or
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know, right? Like, yeah, it's kind of.
Some people will say, "Why else would you have a lighter?" Other people might just carry a lighter. So it's one of those situations where it's like, just because I have something on me doesn't necessarily make me.
No, exactly.
Guilty, like by association,
And there's no way that when Ghostface ran, as soon as he heard the alarm, and he noticed he kind of did like a weird noise, like whoa. I don't know if you heard, or if I'm, when he ran away, I don't know if that was Scary Movie or if it is Scream as well, but he made like a weird.
You can hear them in these ones, yes. You can hear noises behind the mask.
Just as soon as Ghostface leaves, Billy pops up. So I don't think it was Billy that attacked him. Attacked Sydney. I for sure think it was Stu, 100%.
Now I know we forgot to discuss it, but Casey, who do you think that was?
It was definitely both of them.
I agree. I think it was both of them.
I think they took part in every kill.
Because there was two people, right? There was Steven and Casey, and I feel like that would have been tricky to do by themselves, especially being on the phone, killing Steve, keeping her on the phone. Like, that's a lot of commitment for one person. Obviously, they are committed.
Yeah, I think Billy does more. I think Billy does a lot of the conversations on the phone.
It's a psychological thing. It's a mental thing.
Yeah, I think Billy is the one that does a lot of the calling to the people.
I agree.
When he calls,
it's that fear that you're putting into the heads, whereas I think Stu gets off on the killing, the bloodshed, the action part of it.
You can tell too the way the way he, like you don't even see it coming, but like you said, like Billy already has this suspicion about him even when he first comes in the picture at the beginning when he sneaks up
without even saying a word. He looks guilty.
Yeah, and then after the cell phone and the gloves and the knife, well, okay, like that kind of gave it away a little bit, but
exactly.
But
he's definitely the red herring, but it's one of those few movies where the red herring actually ends up being the villain all along. They don't make too many movies where like that happens. Where that character ends up.
Yes, exactly.
So I don't really understand this part. So Sydney gets nervous and flees from Billy, and she goes to exit the door. She runs downstairs, opens the door to go outside, and the way that Dewey's holding that fucking ghost face, what are you doing?
and then she screams, and then he's like, ah!
Exactly.
Sydney, I found this outside. Like
who holds a mask like that? Like did you just behead him?
Like straight face. Like what? That was awesome.
My God.
I love that part. I love that part.
And it just portrays Dewey as like a goofball. He means so well, but he's
a goofball. I love his character, especially in the first one. Where he's
exactly.
We're gonna talk about it when you do the recap, but when he's like, do you see this badge? Mom told you when I'm wearing this badge, you treat me like a man of the law. Like, I love that because,
I love that sibling dynamic.
It's amazing. I love it.
They play it so well.
It's so good. Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
So, yeah, Sydney, so Dewey ends up arresting Billy after he learns how to handle the ghost face mask. And
after
Billy's trying to plead with everyone to say, like, it's not me, I didn't do it, I was just here, like, it's my girlfriend. They ask Sid to go down to the station for questioning, and Tatum shows up because, again, she was coming over from practice, right? It was running late.
Yep.
She shows up, perfect timing.
Yep.
And yeah, Tatum shows up to have some bickering back and forth with Dewey is what I wrote, because they have that little sibling, right? Does mom know she's sleeping over? Yes. Like,
yes,
that little dialogue.
Yes, Doofus.
Exactly. Yeah. So Gail in her lime green outfit are back in the scene, and she asks Sydney what happened tonight, and Sid calls her a pain in her ass and doesn't give into anything with Gail. It's definitely insinuated that they may have a past, but it's not exposed yet. Like, they may have...
Yeah, that they have tension between each other kind of already. Previous stuff that happened, but they don't,
We think right now it's just because obviously Gail's press, and Sydney's a very private person, so it's kind of insinuated right now that she might be just annoyed. We'll come to learn later that's not the case. We got another little funny... Okay, I don't know the actor's name, but Kenny the cameraman, he's the real OG of this movie. He takes Gail's shit so gracefully and just, so Gail...
we'll talk about
right out. So yeah, Gail reminds Kenny that he's overweight, and it basically clarifies what meaning of move means. Like, when I say move, like, like, Gail, give the guy a fucking break. But again, Gail couldn't be the queen she is unless Gail was Gail. So we end up going over to the cop shop. And
W. Earl Brown. Sorry. W. Earl Brown. That was his name.
He deserves recognition for his small amount of time on screen, because every time he's on the screen, he steals it. I really enjoyed Kenny's part in this movie.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. We were talking.
No,
about
that's fine.
To make sure.
I'm sure it won't be the first, won't be the last.
Yeah. We
flash over to the... Yeah, whatever. It's been happening for years. We're at the cop shop now. We see Sid. She's talking to Dewey. Dewey gets up and leaves, and her and Billy make eye contact. I don't know if this is standard police practice to put, like, the victim and, like, the potential attempted killer in the same...
Yeah, that was just a horror movie... not cliche, but it's, okay, we're watching a horror movie. It's one of those things, you're like, this wouldn't really happen.
Exactly.
But it's a horror movie. It has to happen in horror movies, because if horror movies happened like real life, then the horror movie would be done in 5 minutes, right?
Yes, exactly. So Billy's being questioned by the police. They ask him why he was at her house. He said he was watching TV. We already know he was watching The Exorcist, and it reminded him of her, right? A solid alibi. So he said he was watching TV and went for a ride. The cop asks him if he was riding by Casey Becker's. Billy says he didn't kill anyone, and they can't, but the police say that they can't release him until they go through the phone records. Yeah. He's with his dad, too. Like, his dad's sitting with him at the cop shop. They're obviously trying to get to the bottom of it. His dad has oblivious and no clue of what his son is going through or is about to commit. We get a shot of outside the police station. It's utter chaos. There's media everywhere, and Gail is VIPing her way through the crowd. At least she thinks she is. Billy begs Sid to listen to him as he's being led away from her. The cops discuss if they think whether or not Billy did it. And that's when I think we get to see the ghost face costume. I think, is it Dewey that brings in the ghost face mask? And I think it says Father Sam, or not Father Sam, Father Death, sorry, on it.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm pretty sure that's the actual name of the mask. I could be wrong, but I know you get a little glimpse of that. So this is the part I think that you enjoy the most between the sibling dynamic of Dewey and Tatum. Tatum walks over to Dewey and says, "Dewey, it's time to go." And Dewey kind of tells her, like, Mom says when I'm at work, I'm a man of the law, or something
When I
around
have
those
when I
lines.
have this badge, you treat me like I'm the man of the law. That's one of my favorite character like dialogue between each other there. That's one of my favorite in the movie. I love that whole chemistry right
And at
there
the end of
between
the
them two.
day, Tatum's always gonna get her way because she's obviously like that sister, you know. And
Yeah.
at
I
the end
think
of the
she's
day,
older too, eh? Or is she older?
I no, she's younger. He's
Oh,
the
is
older
she?
brother. But I know like a lot of my girlfriends who have older brothers, like they can get away with murder with their brothers because it's
Okay.
a little sister and big brother thing, right? So I'm pretty sure like what Tatum demands, she'll eventually get, and all three of them end up leaving. I think it's Dewey's boss. He tells all three of them to go out the back way because there's a lot of press, like we just saw in front of the
Yeah.
building.
Yep.
But Gail is like a shark, and she smells whatever. If she wants it, she'll smell it. She'll find it. You know what I mean? Nothing gets past her. She spots them, and she tries to interview Sydney. A little bit of dialogue gets exchanged, and Sydney punches her in the face, um, which excites
I love
Dewey
that.
and
Yeah.
Tatum.
I like
We
that
flash
scene
over to
too.
Sid and Tatum. They're at Tatum's house in Tatum's bedroom. Tatum's reliving the punch. Like, it's the best thing that she's seen in a while. Like,
Yeah, I remember
bam,
that. Yeah.
I forget what.
That was so
Like, I'll
awesome,
send you a
Sydney.
copy.
Bam. Yeah.
Bam.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Dewey pops into the room too and offers Sid ice for her because she was just throwing hands, you know. But their mom ends up interrupting them to tell Sydney she has a phone call. Sid asks if it's her dad, and she says she doesn't think so. I'm sure even before she answers the phone, we all know what this is going to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's Ghostface. He calls to taunt Sid.
You have the
Tatum's
wrong guy.
mom. Yep. Their mom ends up running to grab Dewey, and clumsy Dewey ends up taking too long to put, I think, his boxers on. Like, I don't think he's wearing too much clothes when he ends up running into the scene.
Yeah, he comes
Maybe
in
boxers
with his
and a
underwear
t-shirt
and
or
a
something.
t-shirt. Yeah, and he's got a gun.
Yeah. He literally missed it like by a millisecond, and he even answers the hello, like thinking like he could do something about it. Just paints Dewey's character, you know.
I just want to say that when they do that in Scary Movie, Dewey, what was his name in Scary? It's not Dewey. I think it's Doofy. He comes in with the He comes in with the vacuum, and he comes in with the vacuum.
He actually ends up being the villain of the movie, isn't he?
Yeah, he's the villain. Yeah. And
he's actually like normal.
It just
at the end of the movie, he ends up being normal.
He pretend, he's walking, and then all of a sudden he rips off the mustache, and I always think of Scary Movie when I'm watching Scream, just because
they did so well.
They did.
I don't know how to pronounce it properly. I think it's Wayans Brothers.
Yeah, Wayans Brothers.
I love all of their movies. Little Man, like White Chicks, like
they're funny.
Love them.
Yeah.
So we find out that a man named Cotton Weary is awaiting a death sentence for apparently killing Sid's mother. Turns out Sid testified against him as a witness. She saw him. She claims she saw him. She knows it was him that killed her mother. She ends up finding out that Billy was released from prison, or not prison, but the cop shop, and his cell phone was clean. She obviously feels a little bit guilty. You could tell she's kind of like, shit, like I was wrong. Yeah. It's not Billy. Yeah. What kind of a shitty girlfriend does that, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Sid goes to school, and Gail harasses and guilt trips her over her involvement with Cotton's imprisonment. And this is obviously where we learn how Gail and Sid do have a brief history. So it's kind of implied that Cotton was sleeping with Sid's mom and was there the night that she was murdered, but it wasn't him, although Sid doesn't agree. Gail suggests that Sid is second-guessing her theory on Cotton because of all these recent murders, and tells Sid that these murders are all connected. You could tell that Sid doesn't want to believe it, but I think she is kind of, those gears are turning a little bit. So Sid tells Tatum, who's at her locker with Stu, that it's a mistake coming to school. And she mentions that she hasn't seen Billy. And Stu kind of says, why? Because you branded him the Candyman? Like something along those lines.
That's exactly what he says. Yeah, that's exactly what he says.
And again, with the Matthew Lillard, like, performance, right?
And
a Ghostface runs... Yeah,
It's funny. Sorry, it's funny too because
that's fine.
they reference Candyman, and Candyman was only 4 years before this.
They're
I
on the
just
ball.
yeah
You know, when it comes to references, they're on the ball. A ghost face ends up running down the hall, which disturbs Sid, but entertains Stu for sure. He says it's like Christmas around here. Tatum kind of punches him and like reminds Stu like that's not the proper thing to say right now.
yeah
Um, so as Sid is fleeing from this ghost face who's running down the hall, she ends up, of course, running into Billy. Um, he suggests Sid still thinks it's him, but Sid acknowledges that she got a call while Billy was at the cop shop. She apologizes him, but he's caught off guard that Sid still thinks that he would do something like that. Like, how
yeah
dare you accuse me?
yeah
Um, he tells her that he hasn't been the same. Sorry, she hasn't been the same since her mom died, and she reacts like, "Are you kidding me?" Which I feel like any normal person would probably react with.
yep
Um, he hits her back up with the fact that it's been a year since her mom died. And he thinks he should get over it because he wants his girlfriend back. Billy, again, not helping your case, buddy.
No, not helping your case at
Like,
all. No, definitely not. That's not a concerned boyfriend whatsoever.
you know what I mean? Like, oh, like, can we have maybe a discussion about my feelings? Like, we've been paying attention to your feelings for a year.
Yeah,
Like, maybe we should have a sit down and maybe talk further. That would be a
yeah,
little bit more appropriate than
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
we end up seeing the principal scolding two boys. I forgot to mention that the principal is totally Fonzie,
Yeah,
um, from Happy
yeah,
Days.
yeah. I think his real name's Henry Winkler.
It
Henry
is.
Winkler. Yeah, it is.
It
Yeah.
is, and I'll say it now since you brought it up. It was in my trivia section, but he actually asked to not be credited. Like, don't give me credits on the movie when you're advertising it, because I don't want to take away from the young actors. I want to give them a chance. That was
Oh,
something that him
cool. Oh,
and
really?
the directors and producer came up with. He didn't want to take any kind of because Fonzie, right? Happy Days. Those were
Yeah.
pretty prominent actors that appeared on those sitcoms in the early
Oh,
70s,
yeah,
like
for
all of those
sure.
ones.
For
So
sure,
he
for
didn't want
sure.
to take any of the limelight away from all of these ones. So good for him. Like I feel like
Yeah.
it's a dog eat dog world out there. So
No,
for
but that
someone to
was
do
nice
something
of
like
him.
that,
Yeah, that was nice of him to do
that's a
that for
class
sure.
act.
Yeah.
So there's actually a Fonzie suit hanging in his closet. It's
Yes, I know that. Yes,
yes,
the closet in his office there. Yes, I remember
there is.
that. Yeah, I remember that.
So he's scolding two boys because they're wearing ghost face masks. He's very concerned. He doesn't want to put up with this by any means. He tells them that the boys are expelled. The boys say it's not fair. Um, he kind of runs a hefty pair of scissors along the boy's chest in a very
Yeah,
intimidating
it's
way to
so
you know what I
weird.
mean?
Yeah, I know, I
I
know,
was
I know.
like, oh,
Oh,
like
yeah,
I think they were trying to red herring him. I think they were trying to maybe imply that like he had something to do with this. We'll find out very shortly. There's no way it could have been him. Um, so Sid is in the bathroom and she overhears two cheerleaders who are speaking about her mother. They theorize that maybe Sydney kills Steve because she's a slut like her mom. Sydney watched her mother get butchered and it fucked her up. These girls are very savage. They
yeah.
just
That's a
keep
terrible.
going
Yeah,
and
that's a
going
terrible
and
scene.
going.
Yeah, and
Um,
when I first watched it, I thought Sydney was gonna come out of the bathroom and say something, but she didn't. She just sat there listening to them.
because
I was
again,
like,
she's so
really?
soft spoken and
Yeah,
we've seen
she's
her tell
not
off
a. Yeah,
Ghostface.
yeah.
But I feel like she's not confrontational when it comes to face to face. At least
No.
at this point in the
Yeah,
series, she's not.
yeah,
She
yeah.
hasn't found herself yet. Um, but those broads, whew,
Yeah, I know the way they were
like,
talking, like not even a filter, like whoa, savage. Like maybe she's a
Jesus
slut
Christ.
just like her mother. Like
And they
what?
go on, and
Yeah,
it's like, holy. Um, so as soon as they leave, Sid comes out of the bathroom and she's kind of wiping her tears. You could tell that she's very upset by what she overheard. Anyone would be, rightfully
yeah,
so.
yeah,
Um, So a noise catches her attention, but she passes it off as overthinking, I think, in that moment. But then you can hear like Sydney, like a very ominous
yeah.
little
Yeah,
Sydney.
yeah, yeah,
Um, so she asks, "Is someone there?" She kneels down to look under the stalls to see if there's any feet or anything. And there's not. And as she's looking, you see two boots drop down to the floor. Um, So the cloaked figure ends up appearing out of the stall. He charges at her, but she makes it out and runs down the hall very panicked. You could actually hear the noises from the guy under the mask in this one. You could hear him grunting when he runs into that sink. You could hear him.
Yeah.
To me, it sounds like Matthew Lillard. Again, I don't know. Right? We don't actually see who's under that mask.
You could be right, though.
It might not even, there's a big theory that it was none of the boys.
Oh, really?
It was just someone who was trying to scare her. I don't believe that. That was too set up to be a scare. So Dewey shows up at the school and Gail introduces herself. Dewey says he knows who she is and asks her how her eye is. She flirts with him. He's obviously very naive. We can tell from our point of view that she's flirting with him to get more information, to get closer to the case.
Yeah.
Stewie doesn't think so. He's just so flattered that she's paying attention to him. I will mention, I don't really touch base too much about Gail and Dewey's relationship. It's definitely built up over all of the movies, I feel.
Yeah. Okay.
I do mention that they flirt, and you can tell that there is something brewing, just to kind of hold all of you guys over for a little while until we actually talk about that character relationship. They get married in real life, so it kind of proves how much chemistry they ended up bonding over when it comes to and creating when it came to this movie. Unfortunately, they did end up getting divorced in real life.
Oh, they did get divorced in real life too?
They did get divorced in real life, but when they came back together in Scream 5, apparently it was back to the old days. There was no bad blood. They were happy to see each other. They definitely
They were divorced in Scream 5 and they were divorced in real life.
Yes.
Yeah, shit.
There's in Scream 5, and we'll talk about it when we get there too, there's a picture of Gail and Dewey that Dewey has on his wall that he keeps around. That's when they were married in real life. That's an off-screen.
Wow. No shit.
That was
That's
when they
cool.
were. Yeah. So obviously the whole Gail and Dewey dynamic ends up becoming a real life phenomenon because the principal announces over the loudspeaker that classes are canceled and a curfew has been instated. Stu thanks Sydney for classes being canceled and tells everyone he's throwing a party at his house. So then we end up seeing the principal trying on the ghost face mask, which was again the red herring, right?
He's in the mirror. That was funny.
He gets a knock on his door. He answers. There's no one there. He goes back to doing what he was doing. Another knock on the door. No one's there again. You can tell he's just assuming that it's little shit kids, trying to screw with him.
Yeah, he's not worried.
This was one of my favorite little Easter eggs. He happens to go and investigate, and he calls them little shits under his breath. And the janitor, who's dressed like Freddy Krueger, mopping, overhears him. What did you call me?
Do you know who that was? The janitor? That was Wes Craven.
I thought it was Wes Craven, but I didn't want to say that because he looks a lot older.
No, that was Wes Craven.
It was Wes Craven, eh?
Yeah, it was. Wes Craven actually has a cameo in every single one of his movies.
Who is he in House? Who is he in? Oh my God, the one with the mutants.
The people under
Hills
the
Have
stairs.
Eyes.
Oh, the Hills.
Is he Hills Have Eyes? Is that Wes Craven?
Yeah, he did the original Hills Have Eyes.
He didn't do the Eli. Was it Eli Roth? No, Eli Roth was Cabin Fever.
Yeah,
who did the remake?
I don't know who did the remake, but
okay.
Wes Craven did the original Hills Have Eyes, and he does play a cameo. I think he's one of the cannibals. I'm not quite sure.
Okay, that makes sense. And that would make sense. So I wonder if so I know when they do the Hills Have Eyes remake that Greg Nicotero plays Halo, the villain Halo in the remake, and he's the makeup guy. So I don't know. Maybe they do little hidden Easter eggs when it comes to production and stuff. When it comes to playing mutants. So while we're on the Wes Craven topic, part of the reason why he did Scream was because he heard such good feedback about the original Hills Have Eyes and the gruesome and the gore and just that was one of everyone's favorite movies, and he was shell shocked because he didn't think something so gory and so,
Could make it that
brutal.
big. Yeah. Okay.
And thus
Cool.
Scream was born.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
shit.
What were you gonna say? But I think you have trivia or something.
Oh no, I was gonna say, well, we were looking for the director for the remake of The Hills Have Eyes. It's
Yes.
Alexandra Aja. I'm not sure who that is, but that was the
He did a great job.
That was the director for the remake of The Hills Have Eyes. And yes, the original Hills Have Eyes was Wes Craven. He also did I think he did The Hills Have Eyes Part 2 as well.
It's watchable, but we'll get there when we get there.
1994.
Well, you know what? He did an incredible job of remaking a Wes Craven original. So props to him.
Oh yeah,
because the first one is it's brutal.
Yes, so Wes Craven did do The Hills Have Eyes too, and the not the remake, but because they obviously remade the first and
the
second
original,
one.
Like the early 80s. Okay,
1984 was part 2. Wes Craven also did that one.
Did it come out in October?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I say this because Sean's been sending me screenshots of all the movies that have been released
in October.
Years ago on this day, and there's so many freaking bangers when it comes to
horror
it's
classics.
Crazy.
I think they do. I think a lot of horror movies back in the day, they tried to release a lot of them during October. Even now they still do.
It's spooky season, right?
Yeah, it's the perfect time to release them. And obviously Halloween, every Halloween movie, Michael Myers. The only one that was never released in Halloween was H2O. It was released in August, which is very odd. But
that is strange.
Yeah, that was the only one. Yeah, that was the only one.
Yeah, because you know what? I remember movies would get released on certain days. It was Tuesdays, they would drop in the theaters, and they would get released on DVD or VHS on Thursdays. There were certain days where things would happen like that. So yeah, he kind of mutters under his breath
yeah.
Those little shits, and then the janitor, it's Wes Craven. What did you just call me? And the principal doesn't really entertain it too much. The principal's definitely tripping at this point. He's second guessing it. He's looking behind his shoulder. If there was a bed, he would have checked underneath it.
Yeah.
So he goes and checks his closet to make sure that there's nothing hiding in it. Which don't. If you think there's something hiding in your closet, get out of the room.
Yeah,
leave.
Exactly. Another typical horror movie cliche.
But Randy didn't tell them the rules yet, so I mean, we have to give them the benefit of the doubt, right? So in this case, there was nothing in the closet. He's all good, so he's kind of taking a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
He closes his office door. Ghostface was behind the office door all along, so Ghostface jumps out. He ends up taking down Principal, obviously. The Principal's a little bit of an older man. Ghostface is obviously, we'll come to learn, 2 teenage boys with a lot of piss and vinegar. He overtakes that Principal pretty quick. You get this cool eye shot in the early 90s where you just see the knife casted in a reflection of, I think it could be it's Principal Henley or something like that. Yeah, he gets murdered. You don't really find out what happens to him until later on in the movie, so we'll get there. It ends up flashing over to Sid and Tatum, and they're discussing the death of Sydney's mother. Sid is visibly upset when Tatum suggests that she believes the rumors that Cotton Weary is not guilty. Tatum tells her that she's starting to sound a lot like Wes Carpenter.
Yeah. I
like that one.
Yeah. Wes Carpenter. Yeah. I remember that one.
So basically, the reason why Tatum's starting to believe that Cotton Weary didn't kill Sid's mom is because she said, you tell a story so many times you start to believe it, or something along those lines. You hear a story so many times you start to believe it.
That's exactly what she says. Yep.
We're at the movie store where Randy works. Of course, he'd work at a movie store. That's so fitting. And Stu's clearly making Randy's life difficult. That's what Stu and Randy's relationship is. It's difficult.
This is my favorite scene in the movie.
Again, they're standing in a freaking movie store doing nothing, but the dialogue and the way that they play it with each other.
It's
I
my
could
favorite
watch them
scene.
discussing this for 3 hours. You know what I mean? We
I
can go on
know.
and on and on, and I'd still
I
watch it.
love it. I
Do you
I
want to
love
take
that
this
scene.
scene?
No, it's all
You
good.
want to take this scene? No?
It's
Okay.
your episode. It's your episode. It's all you're doing a great job.
Okay, well, when you want to add something, you let me know. So Randy insinuates to Stu that Billy's the killer. And Stu definitely, I can sense a little bit of defense. He's trying to defend Billy's honor. Billy didn't do anything. Stu asks Randy, oh, sorry. Yeah, he defends Billy's honor by saying he didn't do anything. Um, I'm pretty sure I didn't write it correct. Oh, now that Billy tried to mutilate Sydney, do you think Sydney would go out with me? Uh, there, I think I might have screwed up the layout here, but Stu asks Randy if he thinks that she was saving herself for him, and that's when he says, "Do you think she'd go out with me now that Billy tried to
Yeah.
mutilate her?" Like something around
Yeah.
those lines.
Yeah.
Stu's reaction is probably my favorite. His reaction, all of his reactions are my favorite in this movie. He's laughing. He's kind of like, "Oh, ha, 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 yeah, yeah," and he's making weird
Yeah.
faces with it. And then he goes stone cold and he says, "No, I don't at all." Just insinuating, like, no, Sydney's never going to give you a chance. You know, I kind of fucked that one up. But again, don't take my word for it. Go and watch this scene.
Yeah.
I'll never be able to describe it the way that they play it out.
No.
So Randy gets riled up and starts yelling that there's a formula, everyone's a suspect. He's fucking triggered in this moment.
No, all the customers look at him. He's got videos, and I love that. That's fucking hilarious.
Exactly. And obviously he's the only one that works there. Like Stu and Billy really have no business being there, and they're just, poking the bear until he fucking explodes.
Yeah.
So Randy says that the dad is a red herring and the killer is Billy. And just as Randy's saying that, Billy grabs him. He runs into Billy, and Billy kind of grabs his arm. He asks Randy if a horror freak like him could be a killer, while Stu plays with Randy's ear. Like, Billy has Randy cornered, basically saying, like, "You're a horror freak. You could be a killer."
Yeah, exactly.
And putting his finger in Randy's ear,
Yeah.
So we get another scene, and Red Right Hand plays. The song Red Right Hand. I don't know if you've realized that it's in every single Scream movie except for one.
Okay, no, I haven't actually.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
So it's basically when Dewey brings Sid and Tatum to the store because there's a lockdown, and obviously Sydney can't be out and about by herself.
Yeah,
She shouldn't be, at least.
Yep.
Tatum asks Sydney, if they make a horror movie, who do you want to play you? Dewey suggests Meg Ryan. I don't know if you know this, but she's actually the real life mom of Richie, the actor who plays Richie in Scream 5, the killer.
Okay.
Meg Ryan's his mom.
Oh, wow, that's cool. Yeah, no, I didn't know that.
And Jack Quaid is his dad.
Jack Quaid.
The actor Jack Quaid.
I'm not sure.
I said I would never bring this up, but the first thing that comes to mind is Jaws 3. He's definitely one of the Brody boys on Jaws 3, but you didn't hear me say that because that movie doesn't exist. So yeah, he has famous parents, Richie, and Meg Ryan would be one of them. So it's kind of funny that his mom gets name dropped in the first movie.
Yeah, and then he's in the fifth one. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that's pretty badass.
Fuck yeah.
She said with her luck she'd get Tori Spelling, who actually plays. How do you say that? Stab is a film inside a film.
Yes.
Tori Spelling plays Kate. Sydney in the Stab franchise.
Yes. It's a film inside a film. Yeah.
We'll talk about the Stab franchise probably starting with Scream 2. I think that's when you first see it.
Yeah. Because it
becomes prominent in the franchise later on, but we'll discuss it in Scream 2. That's when you'll start hearing us talk about it. So they're at a store, they're in the frozen section, and as Sid and Tatum are in the frozen, they're kind of, the glass doors. You can kind of see Ghostface's reflection. I don't know if it's his reflection that you see on the outside or if he's inside the freezer. I haven't really figured that out.
I'm trying to remember what scene here vaguely. I can't even remember.
They're walking through the store. It's right before Dewey's talking to his boss outside, licking the strawberry ice cream cone while they're talking about who the killer could have been.
Yeah. Okay.
You
I
see Ghostface's figure. He's either on the
yeah.
inside of the freezer
Yeah.
cooler or he's on the outside, and it's a reflection. Either way, he's present.
Yeah.
Um, Dewey is speaking to his boss outside, so he's not near the girls. It definitely is kind of set up to look like Ghostface is about to pop up and get them because they're obviously vulnerable. Dewey isn't around. Um, Nothing really happens in the scene. It ends up flashing over to Dewey, who's speaking to his boss. I think it's his boss, at least, outside. The cop mentions that Neil, who is Sydney's dad, is a suspect, and that it's the anniversary of Sid's mom's death tomorrow.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've been told previously that it's been a year, but it's actually going to be a year tomorrow.
Yeah.
This the call also came from Neil Prescott's phone, which is definitely painting Sid's dad as
exactly.
the killer.
Yep.
He tells Dewey to stay close to Sydney in this scene. So that's the end of Brittany's notes on here. Brittany's phone died when she was watching it, so now we have paper notes, so that's okay. So this is basically, I feel like, mid Act 2, and there's a little bit more left to Act 2, and then we go into Act 3. So at first I was about to say Stu's party was Act 3, but I came to realize as I was taking notes that Act 3 happens a little bit later on, so we're going to get into that. But we're basically, it's time for Stu's party. So we see Dewey's driving Tatum and Sid to the party, and Gail is definitely trailing close behind in the news wagon. We see a shot of Sid and Tatum entering the house, showing a nice outer view of the. It's definitely a staple of the horror community now. It's
definitely
right up there with the Myers house.
Yes,
as far as I'm concerned, I could be wrong.
Oh yeah, no, it is. It is for sure, definitely.
You know, there's the Texas Chainsaw property. There's the Myers house. There's Camp Crystal Lake, and then there's the Mockers residence.
And there's Freddy's. There's Nancy's house from Nightmare on Elm Street as well.
That's exactly. And I find a lot of the times with remakes and stuff like that, they usually try to nail the houses. Like they try to recreate that.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
For sure. And they do a really good job every remake.
They always do a really great job of that.
Because it's important. It's very important. It has to be to the T.
Exactly. Unfortunately, we were shooting Jaws. You'll see it. We're probably going to do it on my birthday because it's my favorite. But we'll talk a lot about how sometimes settings can be a character. Like sometimes settings can be considered a character. The Myers house, the Mockers house, Camp Crystal Lake, Nancy's house. I feel like those could almost be classified as characters because they're so prominent.
No, I can't argue with that. I totally agree with you on that. I think houses are definitely characters for sure.
So obviously the teens are partying. They're teenagers. That's what teenagers do best. Gail and her van roll up to camp out and kind of keep their eye out on shit. So at least if something goes down, they're the first to get the report of it. They're trying to stay low key, but get busted by Dewey. Dewey tells her he's going to check the party, and Gail joins. We see the kids partying, and there's so many goddamn movie references in this scene. Like, I forget about it. But obviously the most important one is Jamie Lee Curtis on the TV because they're watching Halloween. They announced that Jamie Lee Curtis is the Scream Queen, not a Scream Queen. She's the Scream Queen. So Tatum asks Dewey why Gail is here because Dewey and Gail kind of enter into the house. Obviously, everyone has a kind of a sour taste in their mouth about Gail, except for the other like teenagers that don't really matter. They're kind of starstruck by having a news reporter in there, but Tatum and Sid are not having it. Dewey answers proudly saying, "She's with me." Like, he's proud. He kind of forgot about the whole resentment between Sid and Gail in that moment, I think, because he was so, in his own moment. And as that discussion's taking place, Gail kind of slips a camera in a hidden space because she has other plans. So we end up getting a cut. And I didn't realize that this happened, like, right up. I didn't realize this was so random how this happened. But it ends up going... they need beer. The boys need beer. So Tatum goes downstairs into the basement to get beer out of the beer fridge.
Is it the basement or the garage?
Is it kind of like the basement garage?
Yeah, it's the garage. It's like a.
Okay,
It's
okay.
like a.
You're right. You're definitely
Yeah,
right.
it's the garage. I was gonna say, yeah.
Mm,
It's like
you're
there's
completely
stairs that
right.
come. There's stairs that come from the house that go down a little bit, but the house is like a little higher than the garage. But anyways.
Yeah, Brittany wrote basement. Thanks, past Brittany. But you're completely right. It's a garage because there's about to be something that happens in this scene that makes it clear it's the garage.
That's why I'm your partner to
So,
fill in the blanks.
duh.
Remember?
We're kind of waiting for something to jump out and grab her, and we do get startled by something, but it's a cat. So she grabs her beer. This girl's impressive. She's holding like 4 beers. She's like me. If I'm gonna make a trip to the fridge, it's gonna be worth it.
Yeah.
As she tries to get into the man door back into the house, it's locked. She tries to open the car door, the garage door, Brittany, the garage door, and it does go up. But as she turns, Ghostface appears, and she thinks it's Randy. Again, poor goddamn Randy. Like, Stu and Billy are probably so annoyed at everyone thinking it's Randy. You know what I mean?
Everyone thinks it's Randy, man. Sydney does. Tatum does. Everyone thinks it's
Everyone.
Randy. It's hilarious.
So she thinks it's Randy, and I think that Tatum puts up a pretty good fight. Not gonna lie, I will give her credit. She's not your typical I'm gonna run away screaming even though I can't get up. She tries to fight back.
Yeah.
So as this is happening, Ghostface kind of starts attacking her. Obviously, he cuts her arm, and that's when she realizes like this is real. They battle for a little while, and she goes through the cat door. Obviously, this is a death that I'm pretty sure a lot of people remembered.
Yeah.
As she's in the cat door, which she does fit through, I'll give her that.
Yeah.
It would have been okay if Ghostface wouldn't have pressed the button for the door to go up. So the garage door starts going up, and her neck breaks before she's electrocuted, is what I wrote. I don't know if she's.
I'm actually really confused with that scene because I don't think that the garage would have enough strength to lift her. I don't think it would. You know, in reality, I don't think it would. But anyways, it's a horror movie where things actually happen that are not possible in real life. But I just wanted to say that because, like, I'm like,
and whether it's realistic or not, they did good. I
love the scene. I love that. I love that scene for sure.
Absolutely. So we kind of move on from that. We leave her, like, it's very obvious that she's dead and she's still stuck in that cat door. We're back at the party, and Sid is looking for Tatum, but Stu hasn't seen her. Billy inserts himself, like, into the door, like, pops out of nowhere, jump scare.
Another Billy. Another Billy.
The look that he gives Stu, is that to tell Stu that he just killed Tatum?
I think so.
Do you see the look he kind of like, you know, like...
I know, yeah. He's like I said, every time Billy is in the picture, you know what I mean?
He's up to something.
Yeah, you almost know that he's the killer right off the bat of the movie, like I said, and he just... Everything he does,
exactly.
It's like, okay, this guy's definitely up to something. He's got to do with it some way or another.
When it comes to Tatum, I do think that was Billy that took her out.
Yeah. Well,
I do think so.
I don't think Stu would kill his own girlfriend to begin with.
And I don't know if that was even, like, if that was a part of their plan. You never actually find out what their plan was, aside from they were after Sydney, not Tatum, right?
Yeah.
So Billy wants to talk to Sid alone, and Sid mentions if Tatum sees you, she will draw blood. Stu offers them his parents' bedroom, and Randy asks what Leatherface is doing here, because it ruins his chance with Sydney.
I like that. Texas Chainsaw Massacre reference, by the way.
Exactly. Kenny's screwing around with the surveillance that Gail set up. Gail's in the van too. Kenny notices that there's a 30-second delay. Billy and Sid, I mean, we just get a glimpse of that, just enough to understand that there's a 30-second delay. That's what that scene's there for. Billy and Sid talk about them, and he compares Sydney's situation to the Silence of the Lambs. And again, like, I am definitely someone who makes a lot of horror movie references or movie references in general. I would never compare someone's life to Silence of the Lambs.
No.
Like, that's just not a good comparison.
No, not at all.
Somehow this leads them to get hot and heavy with each other. I guess that was like, Sydney wanted to hear those words.
Yeah.
It's now, this is the time. The rest of the party are watching Halloween. And this is where we learn Randy's rules. I have them here somewhere. Where is his rules?
It's never say I'll be right back, never drink or have sex.
Okay.
And there's one more.
And it's the best one because Matthew Lillard makes the scene so much better.
Well, no. It's he says I'll never. No, that's the first one. It's never say I'll be right back. Never.
Yeah, well, that's the last one he says.
Yeah, and then
never have
sex or party or never have sex or do drugs. Now I don't know the last one actually.
So the last one was and never say be right back, and then Matthew Lillard says I'll be right back. And then everyone kind of like cheers for him. Oh my god, I love that shot.
I love that. Does anyone need a beer? Yeah, I'll take one. I'll be right back. Yeah.
Oh my god. So
is there only
Gail
two or
Kenny,
three? Sorry, is there only
there's
two?
Three.
Rules?
There's definitely three, and I had them wrote down, but I have so much shit wrote down about this that I thought I put it in my trivia.
Yeah, because I named two, and I thought I remember him saying. Because he says two of them, and I don't know why I can't remember the last one. Is there?
I definitely had it saved, and I'm kind of bummed out that was like one of the direct quotes that I had referenced here. So here, I'll go Randy's rules. I'm assuming we're probably going to edit this part out.
Yeah.
You can never have sex, you can never do drugs or drink, and you can never, under any circumstances, say I'll be right back.
That's the one I missed.
You nailed it.
Yeah, you never have sex.
You nailed it.
That's the one I missed.
Yeah.
Oh,
you said them together. You said them together.
I did too. You're
Must
right.
be real.
I said
Drinking and doing drugs usually leads to having sex, so I mean, like, they could probably be on the same line. So Gail and Kenny watch the footage. Dewey knocks on the door of the news van and asks Gail to look into a ditched car that he either found or heard about. Gail says, I'll be right back to Kenny, which makes it seem like Gail's not coming back. So guests start leaving, and someone asks Stu what happened to Tatum, and Stu kind of says, I don't know, she probably got pissed at me and left. And bailed, sorry.
Yeah.
Randy and a few guests are watching the movie when Randy takes a call telling him that our principal Henry, so the principal's dead. The remaining guests kind of get pumped out about this because apparently he's kind of like draped on a pole. So they want to go see the body before it's removed.
Yeah, they're saying he's hanging on the football post or something. Yeah.
I think it's mentioned that he's gutted.
Yeah.
So they all leave, and like Randy's pretty bummed out that everyone's leaving him while Halloween's playing. Like, he's pretty butthurt. We learn, I don't know why I wrote this. We learn Dewey's real name is Dwight.
Yeah.
He tells Gail his real name is Dwight. Dewey was just a nickname that stuck. Gail thinks it's sexy. They find the car, and they're shocked to find out it's Sid's dad. So it doesn't really look good for Sid's dad.
Yeah.
Sid and Billy finish up talking, doing whatever they're doing.
Yeah. When
Ghostface appears and stabs him, and it's the nice knife wipe for me.
Yeah. When he grabs it with his fingers and that's
Stu's thing, I'm pretty sure, is that the knife wipe. So Sid flees, obviously, because her boyfriend just got shanked. She flees to another room, but Ghostface finds her, so she escapes to the roof. It's one of those like upper rooms where you can get out to the roof via window.
Yeah.
Ghostface grabs her, and she falls onto. Thank God there was a boat with a tarp on it right below. She falls onto that,
Yeah.
But unfortunately, when she tumbles and gets up, she sees her best friend's dead body. Obviously, that's pretty off-putting. Um, we flash over, and this one's a fun scene. It's Randy, and his actor's real name is Jamie, so it's kind of like a double entendre.
Yeah. Yeah.
Randy is telling Jamie that he's right behind you. Look behind you. Turn around, Jamie. He's right behind you. When in reality, Ghostface is behind him.
Yeah. Yeah.
They actually recreate this in Scream 5, I think it is. Yes, they do.
Yes, it is. It is Scream 5 with
Mindy, and it's actually that's her uncle. So.
Oh, really? Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Mindy, the twins. They're supposed to be the descendant of Randy. It's Randy's sister that we meet in Scream 2 or 3.
Yeah, and even in Scream 5, they're watching Halloween as well.
Yeah, they are. They
recreate the whole scene all over again.
And like again, they're going to be screaming. They're going to be filming Scream 7 shortly, and I'm sure we're just going to get as much movie references as they always have.
As we always have in every other one.
I love it.
Yeah.
And they're not too, like, it's not, again, too overdone, too in your face, and there's, like, not too little, not too much, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're right at the proper times. So Sid runs to Kenny's news van, and he opens the door for her, obviously. It's showing on his little screen Ghostface preying on Randy. So he sees Ghostface behind Randy. Sid obviously sees it too. Kenny's first instinct is to open that door and run to Randy, but as he opens the door, he sees that the house door is open, realizes that there's a 30-second delay. Before he could even really do anything about it, Ghostface comes out. We don't really see him, like, we see him get slashed, but we don't see him die right now, but he's definitely attacked by Ghostface.
Yep.
Sid, the escape artist that she is, escapes the van, and I love Ghostface running through, like, the little crawl space of the van like she is. Like, she crawls through, and then he does too. I feel like that's a Stu thing. I don't think, I think Billy would have just went around. I don't think he would have crawled through. You know what I mean?
Stu's goofy. That's,
I love him.
Yeah, he's goofy. So any of the goofy things that Ghostface does,
it's him
probably
by
Stu,
default.
Yeah,
until I'm proved otherwise, it's Stu.
It's Stu, exactly.
I want to say Sid was gonna run back into Stu's house. I don't know if that was her intent. I think she's kind of frozen. Like, where the fuck do I go from here? But she is standing in front of Stu's house, and yeah, Sorry, no, I'm wrong. I'm jumping. I skipped a page. Sid escapes the van and runs as Gail and Dewey make it back to the Mockers. That's what I was supposed to say. Gail goes to the van as Dewey enters the house. I'm pretty sure Dewey instructed Gail to run to the van to see if there's a phone to call someone. So as Dewey enters the house, Jamie Lee's character, Laurie on Halloween, is crying on the TV. You could tell it's kind of adding some tension to Dewey. Dewey hears this crying, and he's kind of like, what the fuck? Gail finds blood, but not Kenny when she gets to the news van. And Randy jump scares her, and as she calls 911, a bunch of blood leaks onto the windshield from the roof, revealing that Kenny's dead. When she goes to put it in drive, his body, obviously, she tells him, I'm sorry, Kenny, but get off my windshield. We don't know it yet, but he's actually been stabbed, and we come to find that out very shortly because he passes out. He's stabbed in the back.
Yeah, he's stabbed in the back,
Sid goes to the cop car, but Ghostface has the keys. She ain't going anywhere. They kind of have a little bit of a car battle. But again, she gets away. Sid has 9 lives. So I believe that this is where the third act starts. So as Sid is running back to the house, Randy appears from behind her and tells Sid that he found Tatum dead and they have to leave. She draws a gun because she's obviously feeling skeptical and concerned at this point. And out comes Stu from behind Randy from the other side. Randy thinks Stu did it, and Stu yells, no, don't listen to him, he did it. Stu cries, he killed Billy and he killed my Tatum. So Sid's like, oh my god, like, Stu begs Sid for the gun. Randy and Stu blame each other back and forth, but Sid doesn't know who to believe. She ends up saying fuck you to both of them and slams the door behind her, leaving them both outside. You could hear, I think it's Randy saying, he's being crazy out here, let me in. So it kind of lingers on her for a couple seconds, and then you see Billy pop out of the bedroom. He falls down the stairs. He stumbles down the stairs.
Yeah, because he's stabbed too, isn't he?
Yeah, he got stabbed by Ghostface right after they did the nasty. Because you can't have sex in horror movies, Billy.
Yeah, exactly.
So he gets up. He gained energy from falling down those stairs, gets up, kind of tries consoling Sid, like, it's okay, give me the gun, give me the gun. She gives him the gun. He lets Randy in. He tells Billy that Stu's gone mad. Billy's...
Do you know? We'll go a little mad
Psycho?
Sometimes. Yeah.
Psycho. So Billy goes psycho. He smirks, changes his demeanor, and says, we all go a little mad sometimes. And he shoots Randy. And then he quotes, I don't know who he quotes in the movie because I didn't write it down, but I know it's Norman Bates. Like, is it Norman Bates that says that, or is it...
Yeah, I think so. Norman Bates.
Okay, I know it is from Psycho, which is featuring Norman Bates.
Yes.
Sid runs to Randy in shock, obviously. I think everyone deserves to say I'm sorry to Randy for accusing him of being Ghostface all along. Billy reveals that the blood is corn syrup, like Carrie. And fun fact, it was also corn syrup in this movie as well.
Oh, really? Okay, cool. Yeah.
Sid runs away.
Yeah.
Corn syrup dyed red. So running into Stu, as soon as Sid goes to run away, she kind of runs into Stu. And you kind of don't know what to expect for the first couple of seconds because Stu's kind of awkwardly standing there, and then out comes the voice changer, revealing that
Surprise!
He's also Ghostface.
Yeah.
Exactly. She tries to run, but they corner her and they taunt her with a knife and at gunpoint. She tells them they will never get away with it, and Billy tells her to tell that to Cotton Weary, which exposes that Stu and Billy killed her mom.
Yeah, exactly.
Sid, still in kind of denial, asks why. Him and Stu taunt her with more movie trivia to highlight that you don't need a motive. A lot of the best serial killers in movies never had a motive, and they start rhyming off all of the examples.
Yeah, exactly.
He insults Sid's mom, and Stu joins. Billy reveals that her mom and so Sid's mom and Billy's dad were sleeping together, causing his family to break apart. So Billy and Stu, they taunt her for giving it up to Billy, and Stu reminds her of the rules. Not supposed to have sex.
Yep.
Stu gives it his all and gets excited to show her something. Billy says it's the anniversary of Sid's mom's death today, and Stu brings out her dad. So they basically come out with saying they cloned his phone, they kidnapped him, they pinned him from all the murders, and at this point in time, looks like they could actually get away with it.
Exactly. He's going to be the one being going to jail for it.
The plan all along was to leave Billy and Stu as survivors and kill everyone else. He tells Sid to watch this, and Stu excitingly braces himself. So this was obviously a part of the plan. They weren't just going to get off scot-free, obviously, in order to make people believe that they were the sole survivors. They have to inflict a few wounds.
Yeah, exactly.
So Billy stabs him, and Stu does the same. Stu does get the worst of it. Billy stabs to kill. I'm pretty sure his intent is always to kill, like every time. Yeah. It's not just a little poke. It's not just, I'm taking my blood, like, you know what I mean? It's a kill shot.
Exactly.
It's not just a little prick. So Billy demands the knife, and Stu hesitantly gives it back to him because Billy stabbed him so deep.
I think he says that too. I think he says
he does.
He says it. He's like, you stabbed me too deep. You stabbed me too deep.
And then when it's Stu's turn to stab Billy, Billy kind of coerces him, saying, like, remember, like, go like this so you don't do too deep. Like, he kind of,
Yep.
How come Stu didn't get that? Or how come Billy didn't, you know what I mean? So Billy does stab Stu multiple more times, and Stu is feeling a little woozy here. And Billy tells him to untie Sid's dad. Again, Matthew Lillard, I can't. I could sit here and talk about him all day.
Here. I love that.
Like,
yeah,
and again, it's not
awesome.
just your acting where it's either like cutthroat, like Stone Cold, or like it's the emotion that he's putting into it. He could pass as a pure psychopath.
Yeah, he's awesome. Like his character, I don't have much.
So big shoes to fill.
Definitely underrated. As
he goes to untie underrated. Sid's. He goes to untie Sid's dad, and the gun that Stu left there is gone, which kind of irritates Billy. And cue Gail into the picture. She points the gun at the boys. Billy approaches her and grabs the gun while kicking her / knocking her into like a pillar that knocks her out. But she's lying with Dewey. And the safety was on. And Billy definitely makes sure to tell her that the safety was on, even though it looks like she's kind of out of it. So the boys go to turn around, and Sid is now MIA. And the phone rings. And it's Sydney and the voice changer. And she's called the police. And I like the way that it's the voice changer with her voice.
Yeah, I know. It sounds cool. I know, me too.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Billy, enraged, tells Stu to find her, and like he's kind of getting pretty hostile towards Stu.
Yeah.
So much as pointing the gun at him. I don't know if that's maybe because he's just into character, but like at one point he has the gun to Stu's back.
Yeah.
And if I was Stu, I'd be like, I'm your fucking partner. Like, what the fuck? So he basically demands Stu find Sid, but Stu's hurting so bad because of all the fucking wounds he's accumulated. He tells Billy, I think I'm dying, man. Yeah. Billy doesn't really give a shit. He kind of gives the phone to Stu, and he goes to look by himself. Sid asks Stu what his motive is, in which he responds as peer pressure. He's far too sensitive.
Yeah. I remember that.
And again, guys, watch this scene if you have no idea what I'm talking about, because words will never compare. So Billy grabs the phone and he threatens Sydney. He chucks the phone at Stu, which again, we get another line from Matthew Lillard. Like,
I love that. Which one
Stu
is it?
upset.
Did you just really call the police? My mom and dad.
That's coming, but I think he says like, "Did you just throw the phone at me, or you threw the phone at me, man," or something like that.
Yes. You just threw the phone. Yes, yeah.
Now we get into Stu is upset that Sid called the cops because his parents will be so mad.
Yeah, I love that.
And I wrote like Billy is ripping up pillows in the living room ? Because all you see is like feathers flying. Like, okay. So Billy is still on his rampage. He just ripped up a bunch of cushions, you know. He wants to rip a bunch of things apart. He's walking through the house and he hears someone crying in the closet. And he's getting pretty cocky, like, oh, I found her. He opens the closet. It's Halloween playing in the closet on the TV that everyone was watching.
Yes.
But Sydney's also in there too, dressed as Ghostface, and she jumps out at him.
Yep.
So she stabs him with an umbrella, which proves like they used kitchen knives. She was using things like she could find around the house, umbrellas, and she still kicked their asses, you know?
Yep.
Stu comes around the corner as this is going down and attacks her. This is where he bites the bullet. They're battling, you know, they're wrestling, they're kind of rolling around. She bites him, breaks a vase over his head, and throws a TV on his head, electrocuting him. Again, household items, umbrellas, TVs.
I like that. I like how she kills him. That's very...
And he's getting electrocuted and his body's still moving.
I love that.
Popular fan theory, he's not dead. I don't like that theory, but I would do anything to see Matthew Lillard play in Scream again, so I'd be open to it.
Well, I've heard rumors that they're supposed to bring his character back in one of... Nev Campbell's coming back for part 7, I know that.
Yes, so not to be too controversial, but he was actually supposed to be in Scream 3. It was supposed to be him in jail, coercing all the ghost faces to work under him.
Okay.
It was supposed to be him kind of like recruiting high school kids,
Okay.
maybe college kids, the younger population, like young adults, teenagers.
Yeah.
But then Columbine happened, and they didn't want to do that. The Columbine shooting in the States.
Yeah. It makes sense.
So they figured
It's
that was a little bit too far with everything that's happened. Like it would be
touchy,
pushing it. So they changed. They ended up changing that route. But they still kept the franchise going. I would love to see Stu Macher bless the screens again. Like I said, I wouldn't. I don't
There
know how
was
they would do it because he's obviously dead.
there was rumored he was supposed to be in part 6. I read something he was supposed to be.
He actually makes a cameo
in part 6.
Part 5, sorry. I might be no, it's part 5. He's the ghost face with the flamethrower when they're watching YouTube.
Oh, really?
And there's also a voice when you get reintroduced to the Mocker house in Scream 5.
Yes, that's right.
Nice house, Freeman. It's Matthew Lillard actually saying it.
Yes, I know that one. Yep.
And when everyone's saying for Wes, there's again, we're gonna go into it more in depth when we do Scream 5. But there's a lot of characters that came back, dead or alive. Their characters, they come back to say for Wes, just that. Exactly. Because again, you'll learn the Scream franchise and a lot of movie franchises, they're a little family.
Yeah. Oh, for sure, for sure.
You know, especially when you do an original movie like Halloween, that was its first of that generation. Scream, that changed the game. Like, you know what I mean? Those are the big heavy hitters.
Yes, for sure.
Stu's not looking so hot. We may or may not ever see him again. Randy grabs Sid because he's alive, but he gets KO'd by Billy, who after KOing Randy attacks Sid. But rest assured, Gail learned how to take the safety off the gun, and she shoots Billy. So that's established. Randy awakens. They all look over Billy, and just as Randy kind of said, this is the time when you think they're dead, but they pop up. Billy pops up. Yeah. And Sydney, right between the eyes, like she target practices every day.
Yeah.
Kills them. We may or may not see Stu ever again, but we're definitely never seeing Billy alive again.
Yep.
So Sid's dad crashes out of the closet, which like pretty ballsy because they're obviously startled and there's a gun here. I wouldn't be crashing out of anywhere if those girls had a gun, you know. We see that Dewey's alive. He's being rolled out on a stretcher, and Gail reports everything that's taken place that night with a first-hand view on everything because she was involved.
Yep. Case closed.
Case closed. Now, I do have a little bit of trivia, like not that we're 2 hours and 13 minutes into it or anything already.
It's all good.
We knew it was going to be a long one.
This is Brittany's episode, though. You did awesome. You did.
I apologize. I got lost with my chicken scratches, but
it's all good.
I feel like if you come here to watch us, you guys have probably heard Scream or watched Scream already, so like you probably have a good idea. You probably knew when I started tripping up on things, you could probably still follow along.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
So the party scene, which would be basically halfway through the second act and third act, it was shot. So yeah, it runs over 42 minutes in the movie, and it was shot over the course of 21 days.
Really?
From the time the sun set to the time the sun rose. After it wrapped, the crew had T-shirts made that read, "I survived Scene 118," which was the name of the scene during shooting.
Okay.
It was the longest night in history, and horror history is what they laugh about. Another fun little tidbit of trivia is the use of caller ID increased more after this movie.
Really?
Because
people, really, eh? That's actually pretty funny.
I mentioned this early on. Wes Craven initially removed the bit where Casey says Brittany McTaggart exit in the chat. I said if I called it. The first Nightmare on Elm Street film is great, but the rest suck. So Wes Craven wanted to remove that because I thought that would make me sound like an egomaniac, he said. Kevin Williamson convinced him to keep it on, pointing out that it is something a real-life fan would say about the movies.
Yeah. No shit. I remember you telling me. You told me that yesterday, I think it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was yesterday you told me that. Yep.
Being a favorite of screenwriter Kevin Williamson, Molly Ringwald was offered the role of Sidney Prescott.
What?
I love Molly Ringwald. She's a complete OG in the actress community. I cannot see anyone playing Sydney except for Nev Campbell.
No,
I'm sorry. No. I'm sorry. But actually, on that note, so Skeet Ulrich, he plays Riverdale. He's Jughead's dad on Riverdale. Molly Ringwald is actually Archie's mom on the show.
Oh, really? Okay.
So Riverdale, for the parents that play the kids who are actually like in their 30s, anyways.
Yeah.
You know, good old movie cliches, TV cliches. All of the parents who play like Archie, Jughead, Betty, Veronica, their parents, they're all pretty prominent in movie history. Luke Perry was Archie's dad, and I know he's famous for, I think it's 90210, and he's on a bunch of stuff. Molly Ringwald, no explanation needed. Lachlan Monroe, we just talked about him earlier. Skeet. I remember watching Riverdale, and F.P. Jones, who is Skeet's character on Riverdale, I was sitting there like, who the fuck is this guy and why is he so goddamn familiar? Like, it was burning me.
Really, eh? Oh, shit.
I IMDb'd him, and I'm like,
I've
oh
never
my God,
seen that show, actually.
It's Billy Loomis.
Yeah, I've never watched it. I've never seen Riverdale. I've never seen it. I've heard.
I can tell you that you're gonna do Stranger Things before you ever do Riverdale, my friend.
Okay.
Wink, wink. So yeah, Henry Winkler, who asked to go uncredited, which would be principal, he asked to go uncredited because the producers did not want to detract, excuse me while I stutter, detract any attention from the younger, lesser-known actors, which Henry Winkler did not put up a fight. He completely agreed. So again, so classy.
Yes.
So classy.
Yes, very classy.
That's all I got. I could have gone a lot more, but I figured I needed to cap off at some point. Otherwise,
217. Yeah, this was a good episode. I don't know.
Absolutely.
I guess. So that, my friends, is Scream, 1996. One of
I'm
the
actually
greatest...
Ghostface for Halloween this year.
Are you? Yeah. Fuck yeah.
I'm gonna be
awesome.
Billy. I have like a white shirt, so I'm just gonna throw a bunch of blood on it. And I have my Ghostface mask back there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No,
so
yeah.
We are obviously planning to discuss this franchise entirely. This is a franchise that we love dearly.
One of the most iconic horror franchises of all time.
Probably even, we talked about it today, we'll probably even have to do a summary after we discuss all. Who knows, there might be even a 7th movie by the time we discuss all of them. Because there's so much that happens in these movies.
Yes, definitely. No, for sure.
Where does this fit in your top 10s? Because I know that this was obviously one of my movies because it was in both of our top 10s.
Well, yeah, it was. I think this was like number 6. Number 6 or number 7. Because I got Halloween's number 1, Friday the 13th, part 4 is 2. The Lost Boys is part 3. Stephen King's It is part 4. What's The Evil Dead 2 is, I think Scream was 6, yeah, because Evil Dead 2 is 5, and then, yeah, I think Scream 6 was the lower half. I think it was part 6, or number 6.
Okay.
Yeah, it was number 6 or number 7. Can't quite remember it off the top of my head, but I know it was, it was obviously in my top 10 because we both had it. So I switched it with, I think I switched it with, what did I switch it with?
I think Ginger Snaps.
Yes. I think,
Jeepers Creepers, no, I think Jeepers Creepers was mine.
Yes, yeah. I don't know.
Either way,
yeah.
This was a no-brainer. This one, and I think there was 2 of them that we had in common, and Scream was one of them.
Oh, Scream was one of them for sure. I don't know about the other one though. I think it was only Scream. I'm pretty sure it was only Scream. But yeah, you took Scream and I switched Scream with something else. Yeah.
I enjoy it a lot because I like how comedic it could be at times. I
What,
find it
Scream?
adds to the watching experience.
Oh,
Yes,
definitely. Like when you have comedy to a horror movie, um,
and it's
you
not
can't
too
put.
overly done.
I was gonna say you can't put too much. And like
No,
one thing we said on Friday the 13th, our last episode was character development is massive in horror movies, and Scream has character development by far in every
look at
single one.
Casey.
Yes, like
She gets killed off within the first half an hour, and you spend the first half an hour with her, like learning enough about her. She's got a boyfriend. You
yes,
know, she comes from a well-rounded family. She likes horror movies.
no,
Like,
character development is massive in the Scream
mhm,
movies. Like you said, the first one, you have the scene at the water fountain where they're just talking, exchanging words, dialogue, this and that. And then the other scene in the video store, which is also, exchanging words
yep,
back and forth, dialogue. Like those are small scenes, but they're very important in movies, especially horror
yep.
movies. I think it's very important to
And
have stuff like that in horror movies. Like we were saying,
the other
Go-
thing that I wanted to bring up too is you said you would compare this one to, well, not compare, but like I Know What You Did Last Summer.
yes,
So Freddie Prince Jr. actually he
wasn't he? But he
did
was
the
supposed to be.
audition for Stu.
I think, yeah,
I think it was Stu.
yeah. I know he was
And
supposed to be in here though for sure. He was
yes,
supposed to
he
be in the
was.
Scream.
And I think for some reason, like Matthew Lillard and Freddie Prince Jr., they have that relationship there where like they commonly feature on each other's movies. I mean, they're fucking Shaggy and Fred, of course they do. But
Yeah,
I just find it very ironic that like Freddie Prince Jr. was supposed to be in this movie and then Sarah Michelle Gellar ends up in the second movie and then they play together in
yeah.
I Know What You Did
CC,
Last
yeah,
Summer. And then
yes, yeah.
like it's
Well,
I
they're a
love it.
couple
I
too in
love those
real life,
connections.
eh? They're a couple in real
Exactly.
life.
And they're Fred and freaking Daphne. Like
Yeah.
that's couple goals right there.
Uh, I Know What You Did Last Summer was
Yes.
a year after Scream
Yep.
1997.
Yep.
But yeah, no,
Yep.
it's ironic, yeah, because she plays Cece in part two, and we'll discuss that too, because so
Mhm.
they're watching Halloween 1978 in
Yes.
Scream 1, and in Halloween H2O, they're watching Scream 2. Just a little throwback. I thought I'd
Are you
you
kidding
know.
me?
No, I'm not
Okay,
kidding
that's kind
you.
of cool.
I'm not
That's
kidding you.
cool.
Yeah. It's
No
literally
shit.
it's literally the scene where Sarah Michelle Gellar is on the phone and Josh Hartnett's girlfriend, and can't remember her other name, but the emo chick. They're in their bunk because they're in a college, right? They're in their room
He
and
was.
they're watching Scream 2. Yeah. So in Halloween
I forgot that
H2O.
Josh Hart. Like I forgot that he was in that movie too.
Yeah, he plays Laurie Strode's son.
He does. Oh my god,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's like you don't really hear too much about her son. Like he's
No.
kind of there, but then you don't really. No
Well,
shit.
it's a confusing timeline because there's 3 different ways you can watch the Halloween franchise. It's weird, but I'd love to talk
100%.
I'd love to talk about Halloween H2O because I got there's a lot of Easter eggs in Halloween H2O that actually refer to Scream as well. Scream and
Okay.
Halloween, they're always thrown at each other, right? And like,
Well, I find it very. I don't think like you know how people get upset about copyright, like oh they put my shit in their movie. I think when it comes to the horror community, it's almost like oh my god now I have to pay it back to them. Like you know,
no, it's not
like a
yeah.
thank you.
Yes,
You know.
yes, it's definitely it's a love thing. It's not okay. Well, they did that in their movie. I
Exactly.
got to do it in my movie. Yeah, it's definitely one of those for sure, for sure.
I can't remember I think it. I can't remember exactly what it is, but I know Jay and the Silent Bob. They reference something like some kind of movie, and then whatever movie they references Jay and the Silent Bob. Like
I was gonna say, they're in Scream 2, eh? Or is it
I
Scream
know.
3?
Scream 3, which I think it's all when they're in freaking Hollywood and shit, eh?
Check it
It's,
out.
yeah, it's Scream
Silent
3.
Bob, that's Tommy Chong or whatever. I thought that was
I'm pretty sure it's
funny.
3.
It
I
was
just
so
love how they
great.
randomly pop into shit, and it's like, is that Jay and Silent? Is that Ken Smith? Like,
No,
100%. Well, even on that not topic, like, I mean, we can cut all this shit out because now we're getting a little bit carried away. But when I was really into The Walking Dead, they used to bring Kevin Smith onto like The Talking Dead a lot because
Yeah, I seen
he's a
that.
comic
Yeah.
book guy.
Yeah, he is
And
big comic
Walking
book
Dead
guy.
originated from comic books. So
Yep.
yeah, we should probably bite the bullet on this one though. I think it's that time.
2.5 hours. Yeah, this is a good one.
I mean, we could probably keep
yeah.
going, but I feel like people are probably over it at this point.
Like, yeah, no, like I said, most of it was you. You did the recap, so I just listened along and added my, you know, when you forgot some scenes or I added a few things into it. But you did.
I
you know,
overthink this one, and that's what it came down to. There was too much overthinking going on because I was getting too excited. Also,
That's
like you
gonna
said,
be
we
me.
get better over time.
Yeah.
I am still a little bit nervous, but we're getting there. I'm starting to warm up. We'll get there.
No, that's.
I do want to
gonna-
thank everyone for their support so far, though. You guys have
Yes.
never made me feel uncomfortable. I'm just naturally a very nervous person. So
No,
thank you all you guys for your support.
No, for sure. We've been getting a lot of great feedback from a lot of people, and you know, our followers on Spotify and YouTube are going
Exactly.
up a little bit, so it's getting there, and it's only going to get better with time. Like we were saying, you know, we're gonna get better sound quality going. We want to get, you know, better cameras. It's going to get
100%.
better over time. Better layout, better system.
Exactly.
We're starting to get better, but you know, every episode we're getting
Better
and
nerves.
Better. Yes, better nerves for sure.
Exactly.
Like
100%.
the way you were today, well, that's going to be me when we do Halloween, right? Because I'm going to be the one taking away the top, and I'm going to be the one doing the recap, and you're just going to kind of come in, you know?
Exactly. And we feed off each other, and it works. This has been going on for a long time when it comes to me and him. So, I mean,
oh, yeah.
It works.
19 years.
It works.
Or 18 years. Yeah. Fuck yeah.
We're not that old, though, so some of that might be fabricated. Some of it might not. We're only in our 20s.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Whether it's early or late, you be the judge of that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right,
so with that being said, Halloween is the next one. So this was actually a really good one to do before Halloween because it kind of teases you for Halloween.
Yeah, it does. No, definitely.
It does.
Definitely, for sure. For sure.
So just to give you guys a little bit of context, we will be releasing Halloween on Halloween because obviously there's no appropriate time but Halloween. So keep your eyes peeled between whenever this video gets released for the next one.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys, thanks for tuning in, and we'll be in touch, Brittany, as usual. We always message each other
Until next
every
time.
day. All right.
Every day. I'm sure you'll text me in the morning about which movie was released on October 21st. So looking forward to it.
I'm good at that. All right. Later, Brett.
Bye.